at the end of time.
O'clock.
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Wednesday. I almost said it was Monday. I'm like, wait a minute, what fucking day is it? I don't know. It's Wednesday.
Yeah. You got all your birthday clothes.
Oh, I did?
Yeah. I looked at them.
Well, my birthday's not till next week.
I know.
So.
You're not going to see them.
Yeah, like,
I'm not gonna
save
show
it.
them to you.
Save it.
I looked at them, though. They're good. I think
Okay.
you'll like them.
Okay.
You've seen them before anyway. I think you saw them.
I kind of, but I don't remember what they
Better
look
what it
like.
was,
You show
yeah.
me shit all the time, and it's like I can't remember all that stuff.
It was two dresses and a short skirt.
Okay.
With crosses on it.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
a golf
actually,
shirt.
my birthday's a week from tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Man, I'm gonna order cake too. I'm gonna get a fucking Publix.
Yeah, we can get you cake. Oh,
That's
of course.
what I'm gonna do.
We get that cake from fucking
Publix.
Publix, yeah.
Too bad my birthday's on a fucking Thursday this year, but oh well. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
We'll get you some. Where you want to eat?
I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Go to the Thai place.
Maybe the Thai place.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see. Well, hey everybody.
Here.
Wednesday night. This is the topic that won in the poll. Kind of glad this one won, actually. I didn't know. I had heard of this dude. We brought him up on another show that we were talking about. I think because he was tangentially had something to do with Sylvia Brown, like this show that we did and shit like that. And when I started looking into this stuff, I was like, wow, this is gonna be a fun show. CB says FBI nut job. Yeah, pretty much. And Christy says
spoiling. They're spoiling. Okay, good.
Everybody knows. Christy predicts Jenny will shit all over Ted Gunderson this episode and all his claims. That's a pretty reasonable prediction. I don't know, man.
I only heard about Gunderson through the Alex Jones shows. Sometimes people would bring him up, and I think AJ would fucking bring him up a couple times, and he would kind of only semi confirm. You know, he didn't want to call him bullshit, I think. And I also over time heard AJ make claims that sound like they were based on Gunderson's claims.
Yeah.
Kind of like he would parrot off some of the shit he heard from Gunderson.
I think a lot of the crazier shit, because some of the stuff, I don't know if it necessarily initiated with him or started with him, but he was kind of the one that popularized. He's kind of like the OG conspiracy theorist, I guess.
And satanic panicker.
Yeah, and he was I don't know if he was he wasn't instrumental, but he was for sure one of the big
satanic
figures
panic.
in the satanic panic, because he had something to do with the McMartin case, and went on a lot of talk shows about he was on Geraldo and all that other kind of crap. Yeah, talking about satanic panic kind of stuff, and I think I mentioned this on the movie review on Monday, but I was just kind of if you can think of a conspiracy theory, this dude believes it, and I'm not even exaggerating.
Oh yeah, and I think he was on Art Bell Coast to Coast too.
Probably. That sounds exactly.
Yeah,
this sounds exactly
right. Which I used to love that show, and it was so fun. Even though I knew most of it was fucking bullshit, but Art was just a master at bringing you into that show. And it was pre-internet or late or fucking 90s internet era when I was listening to it, and Art would tell these wild ass fucking stories about the Star Child skull, and you could go online and see it and go damn, and it was just an artifact of the 90s for me. But I think Gunderson was on that. If I remember.
That sounds like the kind of shit he would be on. And he was on, like I said, he was on a lot of daytime talk shows, particularly in the 80s and 90s when the whole satanic panic thing was going on. Anything to do with satanic ritual abuse or anything like that. Yeah. He was kind of considered an expert in the field, which is okay. So right before the show started, because Tom was listening to some stuff about him and stuff like that too, and I kind of watched this long presentation that a guy was giving up who didn't believe anything that he said and was kind of debunking him a little bit. And we were sitting there thinking, does this guy, and I kind of wonder this about a lot of these kind of kind of fringe conspiracy theory kind of people. Do they actually believe this stuff, or are they grifting?
Yeah, me and Jay were just asking that.
Ted Gunderson, I can't really tell. From the video I've seen of him, the clips I've seen of him, he seems like he genuinely believes it. He does seem to have that conspiratorial mindset, and he just went down a rabbit hole, and he's so far gone that everything is connected now. But it's just kind of like... But on the other hand, he was actually kind of well known, and he was actually a fraudster, which we'll get into like a little bit. But he was actually kind of well known for lending his name and his former FBI agent cachet to all kind of like wild claims. Like, you remember when we talked when we were on did one of our, because we did two Satanic Panic shows. Remember when we talked about that book Michelle remembers about the recovered memory, satanic child abuse and all that other kind of stuff. Like, he was kind of like advocating for that, and he was advocating for all of that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of wondering too if like other conspiracy theorists would come to him and knowing that he'd like believe anything, I guess. And they'd be like, oh, I have this wild shit that happened to me. And it's like, and would want him to advocate for them because he had the authority and the cachet of being an FBI agent. Yeah. Because he was actually an FBI agent for like 27 years. Like, he wasn't like super, he was kind of high up because I think he was like director in a couple different FBI offices. Like, he didn't work on any like super high profile cases or nothing like that. But most of his conspiracy shit happened like after he retired and went into private practice, like became a private investigator. And at that point, like, he started kind of going off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, his main thing, really what he's known for is the idea that the world is controlled by a satanic cult. And like all the, you know, that's what his thing. Now, I didn't dig deep enough into it. It's probably where you get the ideas of like them sacrificing children to get adrenochrome out of their brains and stuff, which that was the dude from that one guy from, what was it? That famous writer that was crazy high with his lawyer all the time. Fucking, what was his name? He said he got it from Satanists.
Oh, what's Hunter
Thompson. Yeah, Hunter Thompson is the earliest claim that I can find about the adrenochrome. But there's a lot of problems with that story. You know, if adrenochrome is something that can get out of the human brain, all right, science is good enough to where you can mimic any kind of hormone or any kind of substance. You can synthesize that. You don't need to get into a human being to get that substance. You can just, as soon as you know what it is, what its chemical structure is, you can just use chemistry to make it. You know, just like they do with testosterone and all kinds of other stuff. It doesn't come out in animals. So the idea that they got to horrify these children and sacrifice them and get adrenochrome out of them so they could take it for some reason, it's some kind of a drug. That's kind of far-fetched, if you ask me.
A tad.
If you need adrenochrome, you could just make it if these guys are rich, powerful. You know,
it seems like way easier.
It'd just be much easier just to make it. It's probably cheap. You know, you can make testosterone for pennies if you got the right stuff.
Well, here's the thing, and I think we probably covered this when we talked about Satanic Panic too. I said that the shitty thing about the Satanic Panic, one of the shittiest things about it to me, is that child abuse, some horrific child abuse, is absolutely real and happens way more often than it should, obviously. But the thing about it is that some of the claims made by these like kind of satanic ritual abuse kind of people, in a way, it takes time, resources, and stuff like that away from like actual victims and kind of just enters into this realm of fantasy. Yeah. And honestly, I think it's, like I said, I think it's like detrimental to actual abuse victims.
Yeah, and there's a real trade in that. They got rings that produce pornographic material ranging from fucking softcore all the way up to where they're evidently killing people. There have been where they've killed kids in a couple of them. Then that was, you know, documented.
Yeah, that does happen.
It does happen, and then they trade and sell it. So that's happening. It's possible or probable that children are bought and sold. You know, through, you know, you've got illegal aliens being smuggled across borders, and some of them are children. They just vanish. What happened to them? I imagine you could probably buy one. You know, and they probably weren't with their parents when they came across the border. That kind of shit. And it might even get deeper than that. I mean, you know, evidently you could sell women for centuries. You know, if you go back into the damn pirate age and stuff, most civilizations had what we would call a white slave trade, which is just selling women, selling captured women. Some of them European.
But yeah, so that's what I mean. It's just that
Shit happens.
I'm not saying that like some of the seeds of some of the shit that he was talking about are not true. Like obviously sex slavery happens, child abuse happens, like all that kind of stuff. There are Satanists. They're not very prevalent, obviously. But it's just kind of like the stuff that he would come up with. I mean, honestly, he got to a point when he was older where he kind of just thought like everything was connected and everything was connected to this globe spanning like Illuminati kind of Jewish conspiracy. Like he got all into that kind of stuff. And Tammy was talking about the lizard people. I'm like, I don't know if he ever said anything about the lizard people, but I'm sure he probably believed that too.
David Icke. Yeah. Or is it Icky?
I don't. You know what? I've never had
it's David Icke.
I've never heard him say his own name, so I don't know how it's pronounced.
Because I've heard Alex Jones fucking get high with Joe Rogan and talk about interdimensional evil demons that fucking come through people and cause things to happen and shit. And it sounds like he got that from David Icke, like the reptilian type stuff. Yeah. Although he's never claimed to have seen any of that. Not when he was sober. It was visions he had when he was on fucking drugs. So Alex Jones fucking gets high, and he thinks that that religions talk about it, powers and principalities and stuff. But that's really reading into the Bible. I know those scriptures pretty well. Are there rich, powerful people that do bad shit? Hell yeah,
of course.
P. Diddy just got busted for freak parties and shit that had underage people in it. And evidently they were all being recorded so they could get dirt on them. Wouldn't surprise me if that was just another child island, you know what I mean? Like an Epstein type operation. It might have been the CIA might have been involved. CIA may want to control with the messaging in music. You don't know. It's like something that they would do. They've been doing that kind of shit since forever, 50s. But we'll never really know. I'll tell you what, man, fucking if the CIA is involved, they'll hide every fucking scrap of it or confuse it and fucking put a bunch of misinformation right along with it or disinformation. So you'll never really know what the truth is. They're good at concealing what the truth was. They're going to say, well, it was just that record company. But who knows? It might have been linked in with a bunch of other shit that we don't know about too, and maybe Epstein's Island was just one place. There might have been a bunch of other ones, and the other one might have been P. Diddy.
Although, I mean, yeah, but like I said, sometimes I realize there are kind of like smaller conspiracies like that. Yeah. But when you get into these kind of really large, like globe spanning kind of things like that, it's just like the shit that they're proclaiming is just essentially like impossible. And honestly, I think that some types of people, I guess, feel better, especially if they see something like, Epstein's Island or something like that, which is obviously like horrific. And they're just like, well, that can't have just been like one or two, like a group of like shitty ass people doing that. It had to be linked to something larger. Because I think people have a weird thing where they don't like shit that's like really horrible. They always want to feel like there's a bigger meaning to it. I'm like, there might not be a bigger meaning other than that dude is just a fucking asshole.
But it's normal for them to do that. It's part of the pattern recognition and
I know that. And I know I've read several books about that. It's like that's probably why it's just like pattern recognition gone crazy. Well, because human evolution, we evolved to recognize patterns
and to sniff out enemies and
because that helped us. Obviously, that was advantageous. Yeah. But sometimes that same proclivity, which usually is pretty useful, sometimes it gets miswired, I guess. And then you start to think there's like connections everywhere, which is not the case.
I've been studying this shit and listening to it for years and years, and fucking was in the military, fucking did weird shit in the contracting world, and I've come to this conclusion: the world is a jungle. Everything in the jungle is just one of the animals in the jungle. Yeah, Epstein's Island, that was one of the animals in the jungle, and it may have been connected to another animal in the jungle. But those groups of animals are fighting other groups of animals in the jungle. I don't think there's one single thing controlling everything.
No.
I think it's a bunch of different factions of rich, powerful people that all want different things, and they're all fighting for what they want.
Yeah,
and some of them are some of them are intelligence agencies. Some of them are corporations. Corporations do shit too that is bizarre, and that's been going on here in the United States for fucking centuries. Corporations that fucking own mines that also own brothels that are illegal, because you need happy miners. There's just, fucking the U.S. Army linking up with the Korean army to have military prostitution. Yeah, they did that.
Even though technically it's illegal.
Even though technically it didn't happen. But yeah,
Tom was there.
I was there.
He saw the whole thing.
I was buying. And that was a joint U.S. Korea government operation, what they were doing to those Korean girls. And it didn't look like it. It looked like street thugs or something. It looked like low-level organized crime doing it. But no, the government. Yeah.
But see,
Wild.
the thing like that too is what I think, and I see this with a lot of kind of conspiracy theory type of stuff, is that they talk about the government as though it's one big faceless, but it's just like little
competing factions.
And a lot of times they're not talking to one another. Nope. A lot of it's like these little guys over here, this department over here might be doing this crazy shit over here that's kind of like a conspiracy, but nobody else knows what the fuck they're doing over there.
What it is they'll all governments kind of create these little organizations and branches inside of it, and they put a guy in charge of it, and it becomes like a fiefdom that's inherited over generations of guys working it. It has its own set of instructions, its own budget, its own rules that it has to survive by. And really, that little fiefdom tries to just survive on its own. And it might have a little mission that it does. And it might have authorities to do its own thing. And that's, a lot of the intelligence agencies are like that. They're really divided up. Shit, like they're blowing up fucking cell phones now. The Israelis have figured out how to blow up somebody's cell phone in the pocket. I didn't know that existed. But evidently that's been around since the 80s. They could do that with a lithium battery. Or 90s, I think it was. So, there's shit out there. It's just that it's not one thing controlling everything. It's just another animal in the jungle. It's trying to survive on its own.
It's just like kind of smaller, like localized.
Yeah.
Kind of
it's trying to survive on its own. Maybe with another thing that it needs. But it's not going to be where there's one head Satanist controlling all the Satanists of the world, and they're reporting to him, and he's looking at it, and it's not it's a top-down structure. You know what I mean? Like a big corporation. It's not going to be like that. It'd be it's unlikely to get everybody on board with something, because they all have fucking opposing their priorities are all opposing one another.
Right.
What it is, it's a symphony of fucking predators in the jungle all trying to fucking find prey.
Well, and like I said, it's all kind of like a selfish, because they all kind of have their own goals that don't really have anything to do with anybody else's goals, and sometimes are in conflict with those other goals.
Yeah.
So it's like, where I don't really understand how you would do like a global fucking satanic cult conspiracy theory type. It just wouldn't work out.
They kill each other.
Yeah. It just, like I said, it's just too much. I don't know. The logistics of it are just
I think it's a group of a bunch of different scenes. There's the UN scene. Then there's a corporation scene. Then there's an intelligence agency scene. Then there's a fucking military scene. And then there's a cult scene where a bunch of cults. And they're not really, they just do their own things. And then government, sometimes you do business with cults. And not just the U.S. government. Like for instance, Argentina fucking, its intelligence agency started to work with a cult run by a German guy who ran from Germany in World War II, and it was a bunch of Christians who were trying to for some reason trying to stop kids from going through puberty, because they thought they would. He was a PDF file, but he had convinced the cult that if a kid didn't reach puberty, then they would never have to worry about sin. Okay, so he's trying to do puberty blockers and stuff. But the Juan Perón and Evita Perón, they used him as basically kind of like a secret prison where they torture people in that cult. So because they trusted him.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not saying fucked up shit doesn't happen. I'm just saying it's usually on a smaller scale than because there's obviously fucked up people everywhere doing all kind of fucked up things. And sometimes in the case of cults, you can get like a few hundred, or in the case of Jim Jones, you can get almost 1,000 people to go along with your oath. They didn't do anything. Obviously, he got them all to kill themselves, but he didn't really do anything as horrific as some other cults did. I mean, it's horrific, but it's all on a sliding scale.
You look at American Scientology, man. That's a powerful cult. That would be a powerful army if the CIA were able to get in control of it. But instead, Scientology almost got in control of the FBI. What was it called?
Infiltrated.
What's it?
Project Snow White.
Project Snow White. Yeah, where they infiltrated the FBI.
Which it sounds like all spy movie when they say it like that, but really all they did was like a bunch of them just went and got jobs there.
They got jobs there. Cult members got jobs there.
So you know what I mean.
And then
Which
they were able
anybody
to
could
control
do.
it from the inside. They could find out. They could find out what the FBI knew.
Funnily enough, as we will discover soon, Ted Gunderson kind of just walked in and got a job at the FBI. He didn't really have any credentials or anything. Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of funny. Dvorak said the religious right loved guys like Gunderson because he deflected the blame for the actual abuse they participated in. He had people blaming fictitious parties. Yeah, I can see why he would kind of be a useful idiot in that regard. So yeah, you can see why that kind of happened. Because yeah, that's another thing too. I kind of feel like, just like, this might kind of sound out there, but I'm kind of trying to make a point where it's like sometimes when you see it's like a serial killer that did something like particularly depraved, and people always call them like a monster, or they're like inhuman or something like that. They're not. They're a person. And I kind of feel like the same sort of thing happens with this kind of shit. When you see a person or a cult or something like that does these horrible, horrible things, you want to other them, So it's like they must be Satanists, or they must be lizard people, or they must be... No, they're just humans. They're just fucked up humans. Yeah. Because I kind of feel like maybe people don't like to think, oh, maybe I have the proclivity to be like that, or somebody I know has a proclivity to be like that. Like, it's a really uncomfortable thought. So it's like you always have to other them. You have to make them something else. You know what I mean? That's not like you. Because I could never be like that, or I don't know anybody that's like that.
This is also happening at a weird time in American history and society. You had a bunch of aging baby boomers and their parents. They were fucking real religious. And politicians realized that you could use religious fervor and their fears to get votes. And they wanted to do everything, man. They were saying that fucking Satanism was in rock music. Satanism
D&D.
was in D&D games. It was in fucking the police department. It was just everywhere, you know what I mean? And fucking the media didn't help, man. Fucking
they didn't because it got eyeballs. People watched it.
Daytime
so it's like,
talk show
show
fucking loved it, and daytime talk show fucking catered to the lowest common denominator. People that stayed at home all day, that didn't work for a living. You know what I mean? They're bored, and fucking they want excitement.
They want some titillation.
Yeah, and they gave it to them.
Satanism.
But they believed it. You know what I mean? They'd fucking hype that shit up, and all of a sudden they're out looking for Satanists.
Yeah.
You know, they think that fucking children are... Let's get to the Ted Gunderson, though.
I mean, well, seriously, though, it's the same now as it was back then. It's like negativity, outrage, shit like that. That always sells better. So, news media, and actually the talk that I was watching earlier, like about Ted Gunderson, the guy said pretty much this very thing. He's like, the media were kind of complicit in him becoming such a big figure, because it's like they put him on the talk shows and kind of took him seriously because he was a former FBI agent. Yeah. So it's like they kind of gave his claims a lot more credence than if he was just some wacko off the street.
Yeah, he had his own fucking detective agency too. Fucking, but I think this all started with fucking The Exorcist. The Exorcist came out.
Maybe Rosemary's Baby, but
Rosemary's Baby.
That came out earlier.
I think Exorcist.
But Exorcist was a lot bigger.
One. Yeah, Exorcist came out, and then The Omen came out, and then Amityville Horror came out.
Yeah, which had a bit of a satanic thing.
And that seemed to kick off all this fucking satanic panic.
Yeah, it was like very foremost in people's minds, this whole...
Yeah, and Exorcist was a fucking well-made movie. It's great, and it kind of gave gravitas.
Yeah, it was nominated for Oscars and everything.
Wow, this is real. This shit really happens. People thought that way.
Yeah,
I saw it, man. I saw it at the movies. This shit happens. That's what they think.
And it was based loosely based on a real
church knows all about it. Yeah, the Pope knows all about it. Just that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Been going for 1,000 years.
Well, that's the thing, and I think a lot of people, like, whether they know it or not, are very influenced by popular culture.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a feedback loop. It's like, things come up in the zeitgeist, and then movies get made about it, and then that gets, like, feeds into the shit, too. So.
Oh, yeah. And then fucking heavy metal and shit, they're going, oh, the shit's satanic? Yeah, the shit's satanic. Next thing you know, it's got fucking satanic imagery and lyrics in the fucking music to make your mom mad. And that's going to be the record that you...
And really, that was the only reason. Like, all of those bands...
Yeah.
Honestly, like, as soon as they figured out that, like, everyone's parents were, like, pearl clutching about it, they're like, okay, we're going to make it even worse.
Make that shit more, yeah.
Just
and then the kids would fight for that record.
They didn't give a fuck about Satan.
No.
They just wanted to sell some records. You know what I mean?
They wanted to snort coke and get ass.
That's, just like most people. But, you know what I mean? very
the main ones have been
your drug of choice
Crew.
and your ass of choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing. A lot of people, and like I said, the whole like daytime talk shows, you know, none of the people that ran that shit or hosted that shit, I'm sure they didn't believe in all that crap. But they're just like, look, people are watching it, and that's all they cared about.
Yeah.
People are watching
most Satanic one back in the day was a band called Venom. And the lead singer, his name was Conrad something or other. And he was... You looked at him, he looked like fucking something out of hell, you know? And it was just three dudes. It kind of sounded like real Satanic Motorhead. Filthy lyrics, fucking evil sounding shit. He didn't believe in any of that shit.
No, of course not.
For him, he was just making like a horror movie.
Yeah.
He said that, you know, and he's like, yeah, people are thinking, oh, I'm killing virgins and fucking eating babies. What are we talking about? And he was quite charming, fucking in the interview, the fucking female interview woman, this is back, you know, in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Was fucking all over him. He was flirting with her and everything. He was just a normal guy.
In my experience, people that are into horror, death metal, all that kind of shit are usually like the nicest people ever. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously there's going to be exceptions, but they're usually like super, super nice.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just into that because of it's fantasy. It's not, they don't believe any of it's real.
No.
And like I said, they get a lot of their dark emotions and shit like that out through that entertainment, through watching horror movies or listening to death metal or whatever, so they don't have to inflict it on like real people, you know what I mean?
Conrad's stage name was Kronos, but he's a British dude named Conrad. Fucking funny.
Conrad doesn't seem like a very satanic name. That's
Conrad
my uncle's name, actually.
Yeah. And he was just a good-looking dude with long hair.
Yeah.
He ended up getting pretty jacked later on. And, fucking liked putting on a show. You know, he'd wear nothing but damn leather straps and shit and like a fucking cup. You know, he'd wear that. That's what he'd wear. And boots. Motherfucker didn't care about being half naked. And sold all kinds of fucking tickets.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, they were a good act. I liked Venom. They were good.
Xanada says, I blame Geraldo Rivera.
Yeah, Geraldo.
He has a lot to answer for.
Let's get to Ted Gunderson. This is a good introduction. Let me get you another drink.
Yeah, because I started before this show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so CB said this idiot probably thought he was a real-life Fox Mulder. Like I said, I'm not real sure. I don't know. I was going back and forth on it. I was like watching all this stuff about him and stuff, and I was just kind of like, did he really believe all this stuff? I mean, he started out relatively normal. It seemed like he didn't really go way to the conspiracy theory shit until like later, like after he had retired from the FBI. So I don't really know, because some people do have that mindset. Like I said, they like to find connections between things, and everybody has that to some extent, but I think some people have it like to more of like a greater degree than others, and so they are more inclined to like see connections where maybe there aren't any. And the fact that he just advocated for anything, like I said, I don't know. I find it hard to believe that he could actually believe all that stuff, all the stuff that he said, or if he was just making money by advocating or lending his, you know, former FBI agent status to other people's conspiracies. Like he was like backing them up and like would maybe get something out of that. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if he really did believe it or if he was just like a grifter. Maybe, I mean, it could be both things, I guess. But
You talking about Gunderson?
yeah.
I think what would happen to this dude, we're going to get into it here in a minute. I think he deluded himself into kind of believing this. Then he realized it made money, which causes like a feedback loop. You double down on it some more. And you go, oh man, I must be right because everybody else is buying this.
Right.
Everybody else believes it. So yeah, I must have
maybe
called
that's what it was.
I'm right. Yeah, I'm right. And then it continues to...
Well, because you're getting rewarded.
You're getting rewarded.
You're getting, you know, book sales. You're getting called to conferences. You're all this other kind of stuff. So it's just kind of like...
It starts confirming your suspicions.
Right.
So you're like, okay, yeah, I'm right.
Right.
Yeah, these people
that might have been what happened.
These people, and they're coming out supporting me. It happened to them too. I think that's what it was.
Because like I said, it seemed like it took a while, like for him to get. He didn't start come right out the gate, like, oh my god, lizard people. Like he didn't start like that. He started out like pretty normal, but it's just kind of like as time went on, like he just got like more and more out there. You know what I mean? Like as he got older. So yeah, I know we've kind of been dancing around it, but in case you didn't know, so Ted Gunderson was actually a former FBI agent. He was in the FBI for 27 years. Actually had some pretty high up positions and stuff like that. Although, like I said, he wasn't like super, like he didn't work in any big super cases, like super distinctive cases or anything like that. He wrote a best-selling book called How to Locate Anyone Anywhere Without Leaving Home, which now you can just do. Everyone can do that easy, so I guess you don't need that book anymore. But yeah, so, and as I said, in his later life, after he retired from the FBI, he became something of like a go-to expert, particularly about ritualistic satanic abuse and things like that. Now, as I alluded to earlier, here's the thing, back in the day, you know how boomers are always saying stuff like, it's like, oh, well, to get a job, it's like so easy, you just walk into a company and shake hands and blah-de-blah, which doesn't work anymore. But I guess back in the old days, this is how Ted Gunderson got a job at the FBI. This is kind of hilarious. I found this kind of hilarious. Now, he had kind of, he'd graduated from high school and he got a degree. He didn't have a background in law enforcement or anything like that. He just had a general ass degree in like business administration or something. And he actually worked for Hormel as a ham salesman in Dearborn, Michigan. And he was in his early 20s. He was 23. And he had a friend that got a job with the FBI. And I guess he apparently thought, well, shit, I could probably also get a job at the FBI. And he sent a letter to the FBI. Like I said, this would never work nowadays. He sent a letter, and this is what it said. This is the whole of the letter. Gentlemen, I am under the basic requirement of being 25 years of age. He was only 23 when he wrote it. But most people consider me to be 26 or 27. Okay.
That's all it took, huh?
If a person has the outward appearance of being 25 and can fulfill the many other requirements, why shouldn't he be considered for a position? If at all possible, I would like to be considered as an applicant.
No, they thought he had balls.
Yours very truly, Ted L. Gunderson. Yeah. He wrote a letter to the FBI.
Yeah.
And they were like, all right.
Yeah.
They sent him to training school.
That was probably an arbitrary fucking requirement anyway. They just said
he was a ham salesman.
Yeah,
at Hormel.
It's probably just an arbitrary requirement. They just wanted you to look mature, look the part. And they saw me and probably, he looks the part. That's probably all it was.
That's the thing. Like, you don't want some FBI agent showing up and he looks all fucking baby faced.
He's like 18.
No one's taking his ass seriously. Yeah. Who's this kid? You're not in the FBI. Piss off. But yeah, it's probably that. But yeah, so he just wrote a letter and a few weeks later they were like, all right. And they sent him to their little training school or whatever. Now, like I said, he hadn't studied law enforcement or criminology or anything like that. He had a BS in business administration from the University of Nebraska. And actually, during the interviews, they kind of like looked into his academic record and stuff like that. One of his advisors actually called him lazy. One of the other ones said, well, not really lazy, but he didn't really excel. They just said, he was a very average student. Like, he didn't really...
He was just floating.
Yeah, he was just kind of like getting by. You know what I mean? Like, not failing, but not really excelling either. It was that kind of thing. So he gets into the FBI. And as I mentioned, he was in there for like 27 years. Now, interestingly, considering the claims that he would make later on, like after he went into private practice, after he retired, he fucking loved the FBI and honestly would defend them at every turn. And he got in there, this was like in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that, during all the like COINTELPRO and like all, when people were like shitting on the FBI for doing stuff that was maybe kind of shady. And he would like defend everything they did. And they said another thing, they're like, he didn't really distinguish himself too much in the FBI, but like he got like a lot of commendations. They said most of his commendations were about how he was always like immaculately dressed. Like he always like looked real neat and everything. Like they always pointed that out.
Yeah. He fronted well.
Sure.
Yeah.
And one thing that he did too, and this might go a long way toward why he went so far in the FBI, was because whoever was the director of whatever field office he was in at the time, he would always like write these really brown nosy letters like talking about how awesome a job they were doing and all that other kind of stuff. He was real good at like kiss ass,
yeah.
Kind of, it seemed very kiss assy to me.
Yeah, he knew how to use the system.
Yeah, so he was
military
good at that
government's
kind
all kiss ass
like
fucking shit.
glad handing kind of like he seemed like he was real good at that.
If you want to make ranking in the government or military, you're gonna have to fucking brown nose.
Well, it's a perfect example right here.
That's why I only made Spec 4, because I always fucking, if I thought you were fucked up, I said, man, that fucking sergeant's fucked up. I didn't care. I just didn't care. I was young.
I've never been a big advocate of, I don't like ass kissing or brown nosing.
By the time I started doing that, by the time I was doing that, I was realizing that, man, maybe this shit isn't for me long term. You know what I mean? Because the guys that were moving up in ranks were not the guys I liked.
Yeah, I can't live like that.
The guys who were moving up in ranks
because you have to be fake like all the time, and I have a hard time. Yeah, it's very stressful for me.
Yeah.
Hey, Conspiranormal Podcast is here.
Oh, really?
What's up, guys? Been a minute.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, haven't seen you guys in a while. How are you guys doing? Yeah. So I kind of feel like, but he did, like I said, even though he didn't work on any like super big distinctive cases or anything like that, he did kind of work his way up through the ranks, right? Now, so he actually was in charge of the FBI office in Memphis for a time, and for one in Dallas, and then he moved to the one in Los Angeles. So he was kind of like the, what do you call it, the special agent in charge, like at the Los Angeles office, and he was there for a while though before he retired. And as I said, he was all in for the FBI, because FBI, like particularly during the 60s, which was very tumultuous, and the FBI were doing all these things. They were infiltrating like all these groups and stuff, and they were getting a lot of flack for that, and he was always kind of like standing up for them. Oh, we should, we're doing what we have to do, like to protect the country and all this other kind of stuff. And it seems like right around this time, I don't know if I'd call this like, but you could see that he had the kind of like conspiratorial mindset where he's like, oh, there's these people and they just want to bring the country down and we have to do all this stuff. And so he was like a big advocate of, and honestly, he even advocated for the FBI having expanded powers. And he also was kind of like big on not like no one questioning like what the FBI was doing. He's like, look, if we have an investigation, like, we know what we're doing, so just don't ask about it, kind of thing. Like, even if it was illegal or unethical or something like that, that didn't really seem to bother him all that much.
How could he have known about everything, though?
That's another thing, and I'm just kind of reading between the lines of, like, stuff that he said and stuff that other people said about him that, like, worked with him and stuff. I got the impression that he was saying that he was involved in shit that he wasn't involved in. Because if you're just like an FBI agent, if you're a special agent like in charge of an office or something like that, there's lots of FBI offices, and they're all doing different investigations and different shit. Nobody knows all of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like he was trying to make it seem like, oh, I was in the FBI, so I knew everything that was happening, and I don't think that was the case, but I think that was the impression that
he knew what he was doing. He didn't know what else other groups were doing.
And that's kind of going back to what we were saying before, where people talk about like the FBI, like it's this, this just monolith. And it's not like that. They have like a bunch of different field offices. They have a bunch of different investigations going on. And one of them doesn't necessarily know what the other shit is doing or isn't checking up on it. You know what I mean? Because they got their own shit.
He couldn't name where all those offices were. I couldn't name where all the military bases are. I was in the Army. You don't know everything that's going on.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I kind of feel like... So people feel like, oh, if he was in the FBI, he must know everything that the FBI is doing, and that's not the case. You're just like an employee in an office. You don't know everything that's going on.
Labor's all divided up.
Sure.
And what's happening here is he's a patriotic guy, and he's proud that he's in the FBI. So he's not going to talk shit about his job.
Right.
And he's going to lionize the FBI. And maybe what he did in the FBI was solid. Maybe, we knew what we were doing. It was for a good cause. He doesn't know everything that's going on. The FBI does some fucking crooked shit, too.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, and you can't blame one person for something that another, aspect of that corporation or whatever did, because they might not have known about it. And by the same token... I mean, that's kind of like the different side of the same coin, where it's like that person didn't necessarily know what the other...
Yeah, it's not fighting as a unit.
Yeah.
It's
because, look, I've worked in some big companies and stuff like that. I didn't have any fucking idea what the department next door was doing.
Yeah.
Fucking much less what one across the country was doing. Jesus Christ. I was working on my own job and working on my own shit. I don't give a shit about what's going on over there. And then most people are the same. You're just a cog in the machine, you know what I mean? But I think from what, like I said, he never said this outright, but I got the impression that he was definitely trying to front as somebody that I was in the FBI, so I knew everything that was going. I know all this secret shit.
No.
And like I said, he might know some secret shit. I don't know.
He would have heard rumors, maybe.
But yeah, it's maybe was that.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like,
Knew certain dudes that did certain things. You know, he might know a bit, but he can't know everything.
And he never really came up with, we'll get into this in a little bit, but a lot of the claims that he made, like, he never came up with any evidence for it, and he always had, like, some excuse for why he couldn't. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, which always makes me really suspicious. So, but you could see that even in this time, and this is, like, mid to late 70s we're talking about, because he retired from the FBI in 1979. But even in the 70s, like late 60s and 70s, he was starting to get this thing where he started to allege that there were all these plots to kill him. Like, he's like, there were these Soviet spies in New York that, like, had hired hitmen to kill him, or, like, the Black Panthers were trying to kill him, or something like that. I'm not saying that's not true. It's just that he seemed to think that everybody was out to get him, which, like I said, is a very... That goes along with, like, the kind of conspiratorial mindset. It's just kind of like, oh, everyone's out to get me kind of thing. And so he's kind of had a little bit of that mindset, even back in the 70s.
He's magnifying his fucking importance. I could have said the same thing in the Army. I could have said that, yeah, Kim Il-sung and the North Koreans were trying to kill me. I could have said, yeah, the Soviet Union was trying to kill me. They were after me. I could have said that because it was Cold War, and I was in Korea.
Yeah.
Those dudes didn't know my name. They weren't looking for me. But you know, they didn't like our units. They didn't like the U.S. Army.
Yeah. So he didn't like you as a group.
Yeah.
Not you specifically.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're after me. You know.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you sound more important. It's kind of...
I do, and like I said, I do think that conspiracy theorists, there is an element of narcissism.
Yeah.
Because you kind of feel like, here's the thing, like, I talk all kind of shit, like, all day long, like, on this fucking show. Like, if I had that kind of mindset, which I don't, I could be like, oh, people are gonna kill me because of that, or shit like that. Which,
all these serial killers are after us.
Right, because we talk about them and make fun of them all the time.
Everywhere we go, we got to watch over our shoulders, man. I saw one the other day. He followed me.
Yeah.
Don't know his name. You could do all that. You could play that kind of shit.
He looked like a serial killer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I never really think about it.
Yeah.
Because I just don't. I never had a sense of myself as important enough that anyone would give a crap about what I said.
Yeah, that's why
I'm not important. I'm just like a little person, just living their life like everybody else is. I'm not important.
Yeah, the Soviet KGB or GRU, whatever you call it, I think it's KGB. I think it's GRU is modern now. They wouldn't just pick a single kind of obscure FBI agent out from the FBI and says, we got to kill this guy. You know, that's not how they worked. You know, most of the fucking KGB was about lying and spin, and to try to make Soviet citizens believe that they were fucking doing good, you know, and to make the outside world, the Western world, think that the Soviet Union was winning, you know. It was most of the fucking KGB didn't have anything to do with fucking assassinating people. That's not their main mission. Most of them were basically.
I mean, I'm not saying they wouldn't do it if it arose.
They did it a couple times, but usually.
But I kind of feel like most of the time it would probably just be easier to, like, discredit them somehow. You would think.
Well, if they wanted,
if they thought you were important enough for anyone to listen to.
They did kind of shit where, you know, let's say you were an American agent inside of Afghanistan helping the Mujahideen fight them. You know what I mean? They would just hire some Afghan mercenary to kill you. You know what I mean? Fucking KGB agents wouldn't go down into Afghanistan.
Yeah, so everybody would be like, ooh, super fishy. We saw all these dudes in suits like running. Like, why would they do that?
They would just target you. Their machine, their system would target you, and they would use mercenaries and soldiers.
They wouldn't make it look like a big conspiratorial.
No.
Yeah.
We think he's over here. Just, you know.
You know what I mean? Tammy says BTK is after Tom. Right? If he ever gets out of prison, you better watch your ass, Tom.
BTK.
He's going to come get you for making fun of his voice all the time.
fucking BTK wants to hang out with me.
He probably does.
He
might learn a thing or two.
He knows he's gonna. You know, if you can get him, if you get BTK.
He's just right there.
Tom, I know you understand me. You know, you pull my leg and you fuck with me on the show, but you know, you know how I am. I know how you are. You know, we see things eye to eye.
We're copacetic.
Yeah, it's all good. We'll have a coffee. Yeah, fucking yeah.
Oh my god.
I'll show you some pictures that I took.
Yeah. Tom will probably look at him too.
Oh, I'd look at him.
See,
half of them would be fucking. Half of them would be him in his fucking
in the hole.
Down in the hole lingerie. Inside his fucking lingerie and shit.
You'd be like, oh, very pretty.
Yeah. I'd be like fucking. I said, dude, you look cute. He goes, I know. Yeah. Dude, you look cute like that.
Don't encourage that, man.
Kind of hot, man. Fucking yeah. But it was hot doing it. You know, that's the way you'd be like, yeah.
And then you're gonna start hitting on him. That'd be super funny.
Yeah, you know, I was role playing.
You like go to like kind of like you're gonna grab his crotch or something.
Felt just like a girl. I was scared, man. Oh yeah. It was good. Oh my god. Felt real hot. I felt real scared. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
CB said BTK's been in prison a long time. He'll fuck anything at this point, probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. It's probably fucking his testosterone level's so low that motherfucker probably doesn't have a sex drive.
I mean, how old is that motherfucker?
He's old. Yeah.
He's probably old, and it's like he's probably so used to like not.
He's probably depressed. Yeah. Well, you know, they caught me. Well, you know, I wanted to get caught. Yeah, that's all.
He obviously did want to get caught, or he wouldn't have like started up the fucking letter writing shenanigans again. He was just mad that nobody was talking about him anymore, because you know they all need that attention constantly.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
fucking Raider would make a great fucking co-host. We'd have him on the show. If he had a cell phone, we'd link up with him and we'd have a little window with fucking Dennis.
Yeah, because I'm not having him in the fucking house.
Well, they won't let him out of prison.
You know what I mean? Yeah. We'll talk to us.
I'd be talking sweet to Dennis.
I would just make fun because that's like
Dennis, man, I saw that photo of you down in that hole, man. That was pretty fucking hot. You got any HD versions of that? You got HD
yeah, send me that shit.
I want to see some HD shit.
Yeah.
That lipstick looked good on you, man. What color was that? Where'd you get that?
Is it Maybelline?
Yeah.
Maybe it's Maybelline. CB said, I feel sorry for BTK's children. I do too. Like, that's got to be fucking... we were wondering about it. So we were watching... Because, you know, on Netflix, they had the Ted Bundy tapes and they had the John Wayne Gacy tapes. We watched both of those. And then they had the Jeffrey Dahmer tapes. And I thought that we had watched that, but I guess we hadn't. So we watched it the other night. And we were kind of thinking... Like, Jeffrey Dahmer didn't have any kids, obviously, but he did have, like, family members. Like, he had a dad and he had a brother. And Tom was like, oh, my God, I would totally change my name.
Yeah.
If that was...
If my name was Dahmer, I'd be changing my name.
I mean, it's different if you have, like, a real common last name, like Jones or some shit like that. But it's like, Dahmer is a pretty distinctive, like, last name. So,
it's like nobody has the last name Hitler anymore.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
Gee, I wonder why that could be.
Yeah. I challenge you to find somebody with the last name Hitler. It's now Hilder or something, or Hister or some shit like that.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Hitler.
Yeah.
And I think Dahmer is, I think
it's probably going to go that way.
Yeah. Like, you're like, nah.
Yeah, I'm just going to, like, go to the courthaus and I'm just going to change
my last name is Dahmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would change it to something completely different, honestly. Like
Danvers.
Or something like that. Luckily, Tom has a very common last name, so it's like if you became a serial killer, no one would feel like they had to change their last names because lots of people have that last name. So, so you know what I mean. But yeah, so we were kind of wondering about that. But yeah, same with Raider, I guess. But yeah, I do feel bad for their kids. I feel bad for their entire family. I mean, obviously, I feel bad for the victims' families too. Just let's not.
He was hot though.
Who? BTK was hot.
Yeah, Dennis Rader's hot.
You hear that, Dennis?
Yeah.
Well,
people get freaky,
thank
you know.
you
I was just getting freaky, you know. Put the clothes, putting the pantyhose on. Just getting freaky. That's all. Everybody gets freaky every now and then.
Like I said, I kind of feel like we don't really get this complaint much anymore, but particularly like our true crime shows, like some people would get on our case for making jokes or shit like that about, because they're like, you know, this is really serious. People got murdered and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that I don't know. I like to fuck with serial killers because they have this inflated sense of their own importance, and I think they really don't like to be made fun of.
Yeah, no, I drive the shit out of her. I drive the shit out of her.
And it amuses me to make fun of them because they're shit people.
Yeah, I drive the shit out of fucking Dennis Rader.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
that's nothing. I would never make fun of the victims or anything like that. But it's like I always make fun of, you know, people like Ted Bundy and stuff like that because they thought they were fucking all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't like arrogance of that kind.
I'd have been like, "You're fucking crazy, Dennis."
Yeah.
Yeah.
CB said Tom would shit himself if BTK sent him a letter from prison.
I wouldn't shit me. I fucking no. Jen see me fucking get unexpected shit. I'd just laugh. Like,
It would be kind of
bitch
funny.
is right. I'd respond. I'd send him a letter back.
You gonna send him a letter back?
Yeah, you got to have the DOC number. So I'm gonna check that DOC number. I'm gonna check it all out. Make sure it actually did come from him, because they give him a number, Department of Correction number, and if I can confirm it, yeah, that's him. You know, then I'll talk to him. Yeah. He'd probably drive me crazy. It's probably real dry.
Now here's an interesting thing.
Well, I don't have anything to talk about right now. Not much going on, you know.
I would imagine not. Yeah. How was the slop today, BTK?
Yeah.
Or Dennis, as I like to call him.
Yeah.
Now Phantom said BTK's daughter is ungrateful as fuck for turning her back on him. I don't agree with that. Fuck that dude. If I found out my fucking dad was a serial killer, you can fucking bet I'm not talking to that motherfucker
No,
ever
fuck
again.
that dude.
Fuck that.
Disown him.
Yeah. Why? Like, just because that's your family,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean you have to like stand by them no matter what.
How could you not fucking disown a motherfucker, your family member, for being a serial killer?
A serial killer.
Fucking crazy. People
Like I said,
disown shit. People disown shit for stupid shit. Fucking one of my dad's buddies back in Mississippi, they grew up with, he disowned his own fucking daughter for dating a black guy. Never talked to her again.
See, and that's a stupid reason.
Some stupid ass fucking, yeah. Yeah, and she was a teenager.
My grandfather once told me that if I dated a black guy, he would... Well, no, he didn't say he would disown me. He said he would shoot him.
Shit, he'd shoot him, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, damn.
My grandfather was super racist.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We're from the South. That was those were the old generations.
Yeah, he was from Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told me that once, like, just to my face. I was like... And then I was just kind of like, I think I'm just going to date a black guy just to piss him off.
Yeah.
I never got around to it, though. My cousin married a black man, though.
My dad was like, "What did happen to your daughter?" "Oh, don't ever bring her up again." I was like, "What happened?" He told him, and fucking, my dad said,
like, that's it?
Said that daughter never fucking reappeared, and that was like in the early '80s.
Well, like I said,
Like
if my dad was
83.
like that, I'd be like, yeah, bye.
Yeah, I knew who she was, man. We went fishing together. We were all of us on the fucking boat in the Gulf of Mexico. She didn't fish though. She spent all the time on the fucking front deck in a fucking bikini. She was cute. She's a little bit older than me. She's probably about 15, 16 at that time. Man, I spent the whole fucking thing fucking throwing up.
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
Yeah, I was throwing up the whole fucking time. She was tough, though. She might have been about like 16, 17, actually, at that time. Time she was 18, she was gone. She never came back.
But, I mean, the thing about it is that if your family members are horrible,
Yeah.
you don't have to associate with them. There's no law. Like, you can cut them out of your life if it makes you happier. I don't really understand why more people don't.
Yeah, they got people that
you don't have any obligation.
They got people that cut them out of life for nothing.
That's what I mean. But, like, so, yeah, just for that. And, like, and I've heard people, like, cut people out of their life for, you know, not huge reasons, but legitimate reasons. Like, I understood.
Religious people.
But if they were, like, a serial killer, fuck yeah.
They got religious
no way,
people.
I'm not talking to you ever again.
They got religious people that have cut their family members out because they left the fucking church.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, if my family members cut me out just because of that, I'd be like, well, fuck you, I don't want to talk to you anyway. You know what I mean? I'm probably better off.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, but I don't really think, just because, like I said, just because you're related, you don't have to associate with that person.
Yeah.
I would not stand by a family member that was a serial killer. No fucking way.
Yeah.
No fucking way. That is not happening. Actually, you don't even have to be a serial killer. Just anything. Rapist, murderer, you know, different shit. Like, it'd be different if, like, it was a crime and, like, you probably maybe didn't do it, or there was, like, some kind of, you know, controversy over whether you did it. I might stand by you then, depending on what the evidence was. But it's like, I'm not going to stand by you, like, no matter what. Like, if I think you did something horrible, fuck that. Why would I?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand that. But yeah, some people are just horrible. It's, you know, sometimes they have relatives too. I get why people want to stand by people like that, but I would not. So yeah, getting back to Ted Gunderson, we went off on a BTK tangent, as sometimes happens. It hasn't happened for a while, but you know. So, old Gunderson here, like I said, this is getting to be like the mid to late 70s, and he didn't really get in trouble for this, but he did begin to advocate within the FBI for taking more liberties as far as their investigations went. Like, he started complaining to his superiors that the guidelines that they had in place at the time, this was in the late 70s, for investigation. He's like, I think they are too stringent, and we're not able to investigate the way we want to because people have these pesky rights and everything. And so he was kind of advocating for maybe trampling on people's rights a little bit that they were investigating. You know what I mean? More than they were. And he wrote a couple of letters to his higher-ups saying, you know, you're kind of crippling us, like, in our investigations. Like, we're too worried about people's rights and blah-de-blah. Like, he did kind of say, oh, individual rights are important, but it has to be measured against, like, you know, these people could be a threat to national security, blah, 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 and we can't, like, worry about their rights. And so he was advocating for, like, pushing for, I guess, like, a more, I don't know, like just for their rights to be suspended a little bit so they could, like, do their investigation without worrying about these people's rights, I guess, is what he was kind of trying to get to. So he wrote a bunch of letters about it, and he seemed very adamant. And the guy who was in charge of this, like his superior, he didn't really like this. And honestly, I don't even know, because I think he not only sent letters to his superiors, but I think he sent letters to, like, the media, like in like the op-ed pages of, like, newspapers and stuff. And I think that his superiors were, like, not really happy about that, because he had been so gung-ho about being in the FBI previous to that, and now he's kind of, like, shitting on everybody, saying, well, we can't really do our investigations because, you know, people have too many rights, and it was that kind of thing. You know what I mean? I'm kind of paraphrasing. But his superiors were, like, kind of upset about it. They didn't fire him or nothing like that, but they basically just told him very curtly, look, the guidelines that we have in place, we're working within those. That is working out for us. You know, please don't bother us with this anymore. We don't need to make any modifications. And that was pretty much the end of the matter. Now, whether I'm sure this probably contributed to him not wanting to be in the FBI anymore, but about less than 2 weeks after this incident, like after he was, I don't know if I'd call it reprimanded, because they didn't yell at him or tear him a new asshole or anything like that. They basically just said, no, we're just going to keep doing stuff the way we're doing it. Thanks, though. It was just kind of like that. But I guess he was just like, well, I can't deal with this anymore. And so he retired from the FBI in March of 1979. So he had been in the FBI for 27 years. Now, after he retired, he set up his own, like, private investigation firm. Now, this first big case that he worked on was, he later said, where he first figured out what was going on. This is what first planted the seeds of the idea of this vast worldwide satanic cult conspiracy. Was this first case that he worked on, this first major case that he worked on. So he started the private practice in 1979. And he basically said, I really didn't have any idea about Satanism or the Illuminati or anything like that before that. But then this one case came up, and it kind of, like, brought up all of this kind of ideas. And I think this is kind of what got him going off to the races. So the case that we're talking about, it actually happened in 1970. But Gunderson wasn't brought onto the case until 1980, like 10 years later. And I'll kind of explain why that is. But it was kind of a big deal case at the time. It's probably still, like, people still kind of talk about it because it's still kind of controversial. So there was this doctor, he was a Green Beret, and his name was Dr. Jeffrey MacDonald. And in 1970, his pregnant wife and his 2 daughters were brutally murdered in their house. And MacDonald blamed a hippie cult that, like, broke into his house. I think it was 4 or 5 guys and 1 woman that broke into his house and stabbed his family to death. And he had a whole narrative about, there's a huge Wikipedia page about it. Like, it has everything, like, about what happened, like, what he claimed, like, what he said at the trial, like, all this, that kind of stuff. It's actually really interesting. That could probably be a whole show on its own. But he said, and this is, this is just a few, well, this is actually, the crime happened in 1970. That was only a year after the Manson murders. And you could tell that's kind of where he got the idea.
First thing that came to mind.
Yeah. Because he said...
I wouldn't call the Mansons... Well, the Mansons were hippies, kind of.
Kind of.
He looks like them.
But yeah, so MacDonald's claim was that this hippie cult had come in and murdered his family. And so, like, for example, like his wife, whose name is Colette, somebody had taken her blood and written pig on the wall, like over the headboard or whatever. And he also said that there was one female hippie, and that the whole time she was there, she held a candle and she kept chanting, "Acid is groovy, kill the pigs."
Okay, yeah.
Which to me sounded
shit. That's some generic
a
shit,
little fake to me, but yeah. So, okay. So the account that MacDonald gave of the murder, they investigated it as though, okay, fine, like a hippie cult broke into your, because like I said, the Manson family thing had happened like only a year before. This was 1970. This happened. So like, okay,
maybe it was a copycat.
We're willing to take that at face value. Yeah. However, the more the police investigated, the less evidence they could find that anyone else had been in the house other than the family.
Started to point at him. Yeah, he did it probably.
And he was like mildly injured in the attack. I think he got like a cut from a scalpel or some shit like that.
And this is a Special Forces guy?
He was Green Beret.
That's a Special Forces.
And he was a doctor.
Okay, so okay.
And this was at Fort Bragg. Like they lived at Fort Bragg, yeah.
Okay. So he was active duty.
Yeah.
All right. What year was this again? 70?
1970.
Okay.
Yeah.
So SF was kind of weak at that time. It was after Vietnam. They had recruitment problems and stuff. Standards were a little lower. But okay.
Now, there has been there was a book written about this called Fatal Vision, and I think they made like a made-for-TV movie about it or something like that. But what they found as they kind of went on, they're like, look, the evidence of the crime scene, they're like, there wasn't any evidence that anyone else was in there. Like, there was really no sign of any big grand struggle like he talked about or anything like that. And another interesting thing that they found was that there were fibers from his pajamas underneath one of his dead daughter's fingernails.
She was fighting.
Which seemed a little fishy.
Yeah.
And like I said, combined with the evidence that there was no one else in the house, so it started to become clear that probably he had killed his family and then kind of cut himself a little bit to make it look like, you know what I mean? So it kind of went back and forth for a while. Like, he was arrested and then like they let him go for a while and everything like that. As it turned out, though, he actually didn't get brought to trial and convicted until 1979, so like 9 years later. Now, a year after that, he contacted Ted Gunderson's private investigation firm and asked him to essentially like clear his name, like investigate the crime anew and try to like get him off and say like prove him innocent.
I haven't heard the dude's story, but he's a Special Forces guy, and he didn't fight to the death protecting his family. That's not the Special Forces I know.
I'm kind of, from what I've read,
you wouldn't end up with a scratch.
It does seem very likely that he killed his own.
Yeah, you wouldn't end up with a scratch. That's not what would happen. If he was fighting to defend his family, he'd been found dead with bullet holes in him, because he'd fight to the death. You know. So
I mean, I'm not really buying it.
Oh, I got cut. Oh, hold on. No, the hippies, I can't handle them.
Oh, the hippies.
Oh, you killed my family. No.
Oh, you killed my pregnant wife and my two little daughters.
No, SF, I know he'd lay into them fucking both barrels.
And Manson family
murder. He'd probably kill one of them easily.
Manson family murders aside.
Yeah.
Most of the time, not sure what the percentage of, but it's in the 90th percentile. When a family is murdered like that, it's usually the dad. Most
well,
of the
he has
time.
access.
Most of the time.
Because he has access to him.
They kind of feel like maybe him and his wife got into an argument.
And if he survived it, then that means he didn't fight it.
Right.
And why wouldn't no guy fight
Yeah, because he wasn't all fucked up or anything.
He'd have been all fucked up or dead. You know what I mean? That would have made more sense.
They thought the very minor injuries he had were either from his wife fighting him, or from him just doing it, like to make him look innocent.
Right. Well, if you're fighting a fucking hippie cult, because they're killing your family, you're gonna fight them tooth and fucking nail. You're gonna kill at least one of them.
Normal people would.
Yeah.
Most normal people would.
And
you're not just gonna get, oh no, I have like a little scratch.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, you guys win. What are you fucking talking about?
Go ahead and kill my family then.
Yeah.
I guess you guys.
And he's
are
an
more
active
powerful.
duty SF.
Yeah.
An SF medic is a fighter that has medical training. Okay. He's supposedly, when it's running right, in excess of an Army Ranger in terms of skill. You know, it's elite infantry. They can create armies and make other infantrymen. So this whole thing where a dude like that is going to sit in his house and let some hippies come and kill his family, and he's not going to fight to the death? No.
Yeah, like the cops were kind of sus
No.
from the beginning.
That's not how it happened.
They did look into his story, but they were still like, I don't think it happened that way.
If anybody comes in this house, you're going to have to fucking kill me. You're just going to have to fucking kill me. That's it. I'm fully equipped. I'm ready. I can fucking deal with multiple invaders, everything. No. If you're going to find me either dead or the cops are going to show up and I got 4 or 5 fucking dead bodies of dudes I don't know laying up in the house. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to be all or nothing. So just this story alone, I ain't buying it. How's a dude like that going to make it through selection and Q course? Which that's how you make SF guys. No, fuck no. He's full of shit. Something must have happened. Must have got drunk. Or caught his wife cheating on him. Something like that. And wipes out the wife, and then he gets rid of the daughters because they witnessed it. Something like that. Fucking, I don't know if SideQuest Hero's here, but she'll tell you.
I saw her in there earlier.
She in there earlier? All right. At Fort Campbell, where I was stationed, we'd have a couple homicides a year. And it was always the guy coming back from the field and find out that the wife was fucking putting out to fucking some dudes that stayed behind in the rear. And he kills her. Yeah, almost always. So it was probably something like that.
Yeah,
If you kill your wife, it's because you find out she was cheating on you. Yeah. Some dudes can't handle that. Other dudes go, oh, okay, then shit. Fucking get the fuck out of my house. Fucking that's it. We're getting a divorce. Fucking, you know. But some dudes fucking take that super personally. They say, well, I'm going to have to kill you. I don't know. That's a simpy way of fucking looking at it. I don't understand how...
And I don't know if that was the case here. Maybe he just got like... Maybe they just got in a big fight and he just like lost control and then he's like, oh well, I guess I'm gonna just fucking kill everybody.
I'm sure SideQuest can fucking back me up on this. Whenever we had a homicide and it was a woman killed, it was a dependent and it was the husband. And it's because she was fucking around on him.
Well, like I said, most times, I mean, why do you think like whenever a woman gets murdered, they look at the husband or boyfriend first? Because 95% of the time, that's who it is.
Yep.
Not always. Like sometimes it's random. Yep. But that's why they're always the first suspects, because that's usually who it is.
At Fort Campbell, we had at least 5 soldiers killed a week. Most of them fucking drunk driving. Or alcohol-related accidents. But, you know, there were 30,000 of us. So, of course, you're going to get a couple of them die every week.
Yeah, SideQuest Hero said cheating or leaving.
Cheating or leaving.
If she was trying to leave him, too.
Yeah,
Well, honestly, that's... You know, especially like women that are in abusive relationships, when they leave, that is the most dangerous time. Or when they try to leave, that's generally the most dangerous time.
Would an SF operative ever refuse to fight to the death to protect his family? 2 daughters and a pregnant wife? That's unfucking thinkable. That's unfucking thinkable.
I totally think
an SF dude will jump in front of a bullet to save a fucking guy lower ranked than him that's in the same team with him. You know what I mean? You think he's not going to fight to the death, fucking defend fucking the women of his family? You're fucking crazy, including his 2 children? No. Now, he killed them. That's what happened.
Yeah, I suspect as much. And honestly, that's what the authorities thought, and that's what the jury thought as well, because he did get convicted. But the fact that he tried to come up with this crazy, hippie cult kind of story, acid is groovy, kill the pigs, I was just kind of like, come on, man. Like I said, the Manson family shit happened like only a year before, so he's probably like, oh, that's what I'll do. I'll just tell the cops that these hippie Satanists came in and killed my family.
SideQuest came in and she said, no, not in my imagination, no. No, fucking SF guys would fight to the death to defend their families. Because they'll do it they'll fight to the death to defend dudes they're not related to.
SideQuest Hero said, I know special forces people who would fight to the death over half a burnt steak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, dudes will fight over pretty much anything. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like... But yeah, it's just... yeah, so I was just kind of sus about this. But so this whole case... Like I said, it happened in 1970. Everything kind of went back and forth, but they didn't actually get him to trial and convicted until 1979. So like a year later, he hires Gunderson as a private investigator at $100 an hour in 1979, which was, a lot of money back then. And he's basically like, clear my name, like figure out how to get me out of here, like make me look innocent or whatever. So what Gunderson did, he seemed to be like, he seemed to immediately like come to the conclusion, even before he investigated anything, yeah, this dude is totally innocent and he just got railroaded into jail. So the way he went about proving the dude's innocence was he found this woman who had been questioned a couple of times as a suspect in 1970, like not too long after the crime had happened. She was a known drug addict, and I guess she was kind of standing around, like, in the area, like, sort of, like, when the murders happened, and she sort of kind of looked like the description that the dude had given of, like, the female hippie with the candle and all that. So they picked her up and questioned her, but they didn't really see anything there. They're like, look, when she was so fucking high, like, off her fucking gourd, she didn't know what she was saying half the time. And they didn't think they got any good information. Everything was, like, contradictory, or she didn't know what the fuck she was talking about. So they just kind of, like, dismissed it, you know what I mean? This woman's name was Helena Stoeckley, is I think how you pronounce her last name. Now, because she'd kind of been questioned and released, and so it had been, 9-10 years by this point. So she had gotten married and moved to another city at that point. Now, Gunderson thought, though, that she was the key to the whole thing, because it's like, well, she was the female hippie that was there, so I got to get to her, and we're going to figure out she really was there, and we're going to clear his name or whatever. Now, the first thing that he did, this is, like, really weird. I'm not really sure how this came about. So he got the guy that was in jail, MacDonald, Dr. MacDonald. Gunderson got this psychic. I think this was MacDonald's idea. That was how I kind of read it. He's like, get this psychic. I guess she was kind of famous, and get her to say that that if she participates in this case, that she would have a beautiful life if she helped in the case, like helped him to get free, right? So they thought that this was going to persuade her somehow. I don't really know what the whole backstory behind that was. So they get this psychic, and they take her to wherever. I think she was in South Carolina at this point. And so they take the psychic there, and it didn't really work, it seemed like. You know what I mean? She was just kind of like, okay, whatever. But there was a whole thing. But then Gunderson goes there, and he had another former FBI agent with him. And they go and question this woman, Helena Stoeckley. And the other FBI agent said, the interrogation was, he used the words unethical and also the words duress. He said he kind of went between sort of threatening her and promising to give her shit if she said what he wanted her to say. Like, he promised her that he was going to give her a new identity, move her out to California, like they were going to make a movie about the case and she would be in it. Like, he made her, like, all these promises, like, if she would go along with it, like, during this interrogation. He's a private investigator, so he doesn't have to follow any laws or anything like that.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't follow any laws.
I guess.
And he doesn't have to deliver on any of his fucking promises.
Clearly.
He doesn't have any government agency and funding backing him up. Or fucking legal power and shit for the whole judges and shit. Yeah, I'll back him up. I'll hear for everything. No, they got him.
So eventually, he persuades Helena to sign this paper that said that she was at the house during the murder with 4 or 5 other dudes that were a member of what she called the Black Cult. Right? This is where the whole satanic thing came from. Like, from this case. So she said that she was with that. And then, because Gunderson told her, well, now that you've said this, you know, everyone's going to be looking for you. So you better, like, go into hiding and all this other kind of shit. So she did. You know what I mean? She was kind of... I don't know if she was still a drug addict at that time, because I saw, like, some interviews with her, and she seemed to have gotten her shit together and, like, gone to rehab and everything like that, like, after that. But when the murder happened, like, she was just totally high all the time. I had no idea what happened. And so that's the thing. I think he kind of persuaded her that, wow, you were so high. Because even when the police interviewed her, they were like, were you in this? She's like, I don't know. She was so fucked up that she's like, I very well might have been. I don't remember shit. You know what I mean? It was that kind of thing. So she said that, yeah, she was a member of this satanic cult called the Black Cult. And, yeah, we totally went in there and killed that family. Now... the story that she gave, though, did not really jibe with any of the forensic evidence from the case. One of the things, it seems like the main thing that Gunderson took as, oh my god, she was really there, was she said that when she was in the house, allegedly, that she had tried to ride this rocking horse that one of the girls had in their room. She's like, but I couldn't ride it because the spring was broken. And then Ted Gunderson, like, made a whole lot out of that because he's like, oh, well, nobody other than the family would have known that spring was broken or anything like that. But then, like, later debunkers found out that the crime scene photos had actually been published and the rocking horse, the spring wasn't broken. Like, there was so it's like, well, like, why would she even say that? I don't really know. But it was just kind of like, she probably just saw the pictures and saw something about it. Because the pictures were kind of out there, you know. But that seemed to be, like, one of the main things. Like, oh, nobody would have known that unless they were there. And, so, yeah. So there was that. And the thing about it is that she actually named 5 other dudes who were real dudes. I guess it was just, like, acquaintances of hers. And they very much did not appreciate being accused of being there. They're like, yeah, no, we weren't there. And one of the dudes couldn't have been there because he was in jail.
Yeah.
So there was that. And over the years, her story kept changing. Like, she would say, oh, yeah, we were totally there and we did this. And then later on, she'd be like, no, we weren't there. You know, I just made it all up. And she just, like, went back and forth. Like, her story was never all that straight or anything. And this was kind of, like, the main thing that Gunderson was using to bolster his case. But the thing about it is that he seemed to have gotten so obsessed with the idea of this black cult, which she probably just pulled right out of her ass, honestly, that he started to think that this cult was real and that it was behind, like, everything ever.
Yeah. A monolithic enemy. A nemesis. Yeah.
Yeah, which, like I said, that's very attractive to some people because it's something you can grasp onto.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like some nebulous, lots of people, it's, like, unconnected. It's, like, one thing.
Yeah, the thing is,
like Spectre from the James Bond movie.
Yeah. Although, look, man, depending on what James Bond movie you're watching, the description of fucking Spectre got really fucking cool in the fucking Daniel Craig series. It was just rich bad people, a gang of rich bad people.
Which they do have, though.
They exist, yeah.
I'm just saying that it's like, some of the stuff they do in the movies is, like, a little far-fetched.
Yeah.
But, you know, they can't, like, have fucking people everywhere. Come on now. And, like, know exactly where everyone's going to be at any given time. And it's... Because a lot of the stuff kind of impinged, like...
well, they had infiltrated fucking James Bond's fucking agency and shit. But you got to have a good enemy. But the thing is, that goes right into what I was going to say next. When you start thinking that way... You got to turn that fucking that thinking in on yourself, and you got to analyze what's going on, and you're going to find out that you got main character syndrome. That you think you're in a movie, that you're the main character.
Right. A lot of people have.
And there's this fucking monolithic enemy out there that's attacking you. It's not. It's just animals in the jungle. You're interpreting it as a unified front of resistance or enemy activity against you.
Well, like I said,
it's a bunch of stuff happening.
It kind of makes you feel more important.
Yeah, you know now. And that,
So, yeah.
This shit like that does exist.
Yeah,
but it's not
I'm
a unified
No.
front. You're seeing the effects of maybe 7 or 8 different animals in the jungle, all fighting, and it's all, and what they're doing is going against you in some way.
Honestly, anybody that starts talking about how everybody is after them, that person probably has schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Because that's a very, very common... You just think everybody's out to get you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, like I said, maybe sometimes, like you did something bad, or somebody's out to get you for some reason because you blabbed or some shit like that. Like, there might be 3 guys out to get you.
Cartels.
Yeah, or something. Well, yeah, obviously. That's those guys are out to get you. But it's just like when you start thinking there's all these shadowy forces, and it's like wherever you go, people are following you and stuff like that. That's mental illness. That's not reality. And I kind of feel like this case, he started out small with this. Like he did, even in the 70s, he was kind of like, Soviet spies are hired hitmen to kill me. The Black Panthers are going to kill me. And like I said, maybe, I don't know. I kind of doubt it, but maybe that could be true. But I kind of feel like as time went on, he got more and more like that. Like it got more and more pronounced. Like he thought everybody was out to get him, and they were always following him. Like he was always being followed. Like people were like blowing poison through the heater vents in his house and like shit like that. And like I said, that's shading over into mental illness right there.
Yeah,
is what that is.
When you're talking about conspiracy theories and unified enemies, like big fucking conspiracies of Satanists and shit. A good example I like to fucking use is the goth scene. All right. If you went into a fucking goth club, nobody fucking knows you. All right. And you started grabbing chicks' asses and misbehaving, and you're wearing fucked up clothes, and you're just not. All those goths are gonna fucking turn on you and get you kicked out of the club. That was not a conspiracy. That was not planned.
You're just a tool.
That was not a conspiracy between all those goths. What it was is that all those goths had the similar opinion of you because they all had similar value structures.
Yes.
So some of the shit that you're seeing happening in like the American mass media, where you have Hollywood doing one thing and the news agencies doing one thing and a political party doing nothing, and it all looks like it's in concert. They're not talking to each other. It's just that they share values and they kind of act in concert. It looks like
they're all
a conspiracy,
but they're not necessarily.
It's not really a conspiracy. It's just their reactions because those people are the same personality types. When they all come out of those universities, you come out of those universities a lot of times, you're going to be of a certain personality type. I fucking came up around the Boston scene, around MIT, Harvard, and Tufts University, and was in the clubs with all those college kids. They have a similar personality because they're going through the same thing and they have the same value system, but it's not a conspiracy.
No. Well, and here's the thing too. I kind of feel like, and I see this a lot, like I said, on kind of conspiracy theory type of things, is that some people are just assholes. They're just jerks. And so they think, I don't know, maybe they don't see themselves as jerks, but they act like jerks. And so when everyone reacts to them like, hey man, you're an asshole, or shut the fuck up, or you don't know what you're talking about, or whatever, they think everything is a conspiracy against them. They're like, no, you're just a dick. And a lot of people think you're a dick, and they're just telling you that separately. Because separately, most people think you're a dick. That's all it is. It's not a conspiracy or nothing like that. And maybe if you don't want that to happen, maybe you should work on being less of a dick. But unfortunately, that never happens either. So, yeah. But like I said, I kind of feel like there is a personality type that... And like I said, I think at its root, it has a root in a bit of narcissism. Like, I think they do think that they're more important than they actually are. It's some main character syndrome. And they think that they're important enough to warrant all of these larger forces or something like that, like, allied, like, allayed against them, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But that's not generally the case. Like I said, if a lot of people dislike you, it's probably for a reason. It's not a conspiracy. It's probably just because you're a jerk. You know what I mean? And there's no conspiracy involved. It's just a lot of normal people think you're a jerk. That's all. So yeah, so this whole kind of situation, as I said, it's pretty clear. I feel like there's still a little bit of a controversy in the Dr. MacDonald case, like even nowadays. But from what I read about it, it does seem to me like pretty plain that he did kill his family and then just blamed it on like a Manson-like cult because that was kind of in the zeitgeist at the time and he thought he would get away with it. And he did for almost 10 years, but then he got locked up. And as far as I know, he's still in prison. But this whole thing where Gunderson focused so much on this Helena woman who was clearly, I mean, she was a drug addict. She probably didn't know what the fuck she was doing back then half the time. And it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. And she just kind of went along with it. And he seemed to hinge a lot of his shit on that. And he seemed to get really, really obsessed with this whole idea of like this black cult. And for whatever reason, just from this tiny little kernel of some shit, like I said, that she probably just made up because it sounded cool, was he thought that this cult, that they were like this smaller arm of this cult that was like basically like controlling the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it kind of got, I don't think he jumped off that cliff like immediately, but it seemed like he like kind of built up from this. Like he kind of pointed to this case as like, this is when I figured out like what was really going on.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like all the satanic cult that was pulling all the strings.
Yeah.
Like it kind of seemed like this is where he got that, you know, the whiff of that idea, and then like he just took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Or developed it in his own
kind
of self-delusion.
So after this particular case, you know, obviously the dude didn't get let out of jail because everyone was like, look, we interviewed that bitch. Like, she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. It's like, you know what I mean? There's nothing to it. You know, he's still in jail. And so he started to think, again, this is kind of referring back to what I was saying earlier, that everybody in the FBI now was turning on him. And he's like, oh, well, they all must be involved. Like, it's a cover-up, right? And they're trying to, like, destroy my reputation because I'm exposing.
Yeah, they've infiltrated the FBI.
Right, that's kind of kind of what he was thinking about. He went so far, in 1985, he wrote a letter to Ronald Reagan, who was the president at the time, and wanted him to, like, intervene on his behalf. Yeah. Which, like I said, main character syndrome.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm no fan of Reagan, but it's just like, it's kind of funny that just, I think the letter went to like the Attorney General or something like that, and they were just like, nah, they just kind of like passed it off, and they're like, let's just like not. But see, the thing about it is that if you have that conspiratorial mindset already, like the fact that you're getting ignored, that just reinforces what you already think. It's like, oh, they know I'm onto them. You know what I mean? So they're like pretending. Now they're going to come get me, like all this other kind of stuff. So I kind of feel like once you get into that mindset, I feel like it's really, really hard for people to get out because it's so self-reinforcing. Like pretty much everything that happens like feeds into that narrative. And it's really hard to get out of that mindset once you're in it. Like once you go down that particular rabbit hole. Now, so that didn't work. Like Reagan didn't do anything. Because they're just like, okay, whatever. However, in 1987, he actually sent a letter to John McCain, who was then the senator in Arizona, and asked him to look into satanic cult abuse and things like that. And he sent like all this other stuff. There was like a booklet that he sent, and like a New York Post article, which I'm sure is like, yeah, that's a real fucking good evidence right there. But he sent all this stuff. And he said in this letter to John McCain, he's like, these Satanists, they're kidnapping people, they're doing sacrifices, and all this other criminal stuff. And there was, he basically said that the Soviets were involved, too, that they were encouraging all of this, or they were behind it somehow. Now, to his credit, John McCain was like, okay, well, if there's something to this, we'll look into it. Like, he did have somebody, like, look into it. Like, so there is that. He didn't just totally blow it off, even though, like I said, it sounds pretty crazy. But he's like, okay, well, if something like this is going on, we should probably look into it. So they did look a little bit into it. However, they did not find any evidence of what he was talking about. And they said, well, the information that he provided was just like so general that it's not like we could like he didn't really give us any evidence about like a particular case or like a particular murder or anything like that. It was just kind of this general Satanists are doing this everywhere. You know what I mean? It's just, well, that's not real super helpful. So they did kind of look into it, but they're like, they didn't really see there was nothing to it. So that's about as far as that went. And again, I don't know if this was the case. I imagine it probably was, but he was just probably like, yeah, they looked into it, and it's like they found out all these high up people were involved, so they just like stopped looking into it. You know what I mean? Because once you get in that mindset, you can't really get out of it. So because of this, though, and because he became more and more convinced that, and he wasn't the only one, you know, during the 80s and 90s, obviously, we've talked about it. We lived through it. The Satanic Panic was a huge, huge thing. Like, there were millions of Satanists in the U.S. They were sacrificing babies. They were kidnapping women and getting them pregnant and sacrificing those babies and all this other kind of shit. And just, like, the claims they were making were outlandish. Ted Gunderson himself, I saw the clip, and he said that he estimated that 60,000 or 70,000 people a year were sacrificed by satanic cults. Impossible.
That's a lot of people.
Impossible.
You would notice that.
That's completely impossible. That is a completely outlandish claim.
No.
And
I ain't buying that.
Yeah.
How could you keep 70,000 murders quiet, away from the eyes of law enforcement?
That's what I'm saying. Well, see, all it would take. But if you told him that, if you said that, he would say, "Oh, well, they're all in on it.
Yeah,
they're all covering it up."
Now it starts sounding like paranoia.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with conspiracy theories, is that anything you come up with is evidence of the conspiracy.
Yeah.
Like, there's never any evidence against it. Even evidence against it that you present is evidence for it somehow. Yeah. Like, they'll kind of twist it around. That's why it's hard for people to get out of that mindset. That's why it's good to never go down to that fucking rabbit hole.
All it would take is just one investigation.
But they did.
One murder investigation to uncover a satanic fucking thing.
Yeah.
And it would,
and I'm not saying
break open a lot more, but that's never happened.
Well, there have been, like, one-off kind of murders.
But now when you're talking about 10, 5, 10, 15, 20.
There have been, like, one-off kind of murders where the dude was, like, you know, like fucking Ramirez and shit like that. Yeah. Like, where, oh, I'm a Satanist and all that other kind of shit. But, like, it happens, like, one-off kind of stuff where it's just, like, one sicko. Yeah. But they're talking about an organized cabal of Satanists all over the country who are systematically kidnapping people, kidnapping women, impregnating them for the purpose of having babies to sacrifice, like this other kind of stuff. Like, the scale that they're talking about is impossible. That just can't happen.
Yeah.
Without somebody noticing.
Somebody in my family did sacrifice somebody, though. My brother's cousin, he was a dude. He was in his fucking mid-20s, late 20s, I think, at the time that this happened. He was in a mental institution for schizophrenia. And he came home on fucking like a visit release type thing, and to meet his like ex-wife and his son, who was only like 3 or 4. And he put the son in the boat and they rowed out into the fucking pond and he fucking stabbed the son in the heart, killed him.
Yeah.
Came back and he says, "Where's your son?" And he goes, "Oh, I sacrificed him to God. He's in the boat," like it was no big deal.
So he was clearly crazy.
Clearly crazy, and that was it. He was in there for the rest of his life. Yeah,
that's what I mean. There's one-off cases like that, sure.
There's that. But think if you had a bunch of Satan, if you had 70,000 dudes doing that kind of shit, all it would take would be one of them to slip up, and that investigation would uncover multiple ritual slangs, most likely, because they're not going to be that careful. Right. You're talking about mass production at 70,000 a year. There's going to be witnesses. There's going to be somebody that's going to want to talk.
Yeah, something that large.
Yeah. It would,
you know, even if everyone in law enforcement was involved, which is obviously, again, impossible.
Not possible, yeah. There's too much changeover.
Yeah, and like I said, there would be witnesses. There'd be civilian witnesses. Not everyone's going to be on board with it or cowed into silence or whatever. It's just kind of like, and that's why I'm saying, like, the larger a conspiracy is, the less believable it is. because there's always going to be people, this kind of thing. And I think by the end of his life, like Ted Gunderson had got a thing where everyone was in on everything. Like, and that was the reason that no one was investigating this. And I was like, oh, they're all in on it. I'm like, that can't be. It just can't. Right. So, you know what I mean?
No, it can't. The operation would be too big.
Now, Phantom says there is a high number of missing and abducted children that go missing every year. That is true. But honestly, most missing abducted children, it's usually a family member
has taken them.
In the majority of cases.
Yeah. And then the other group is they're abducted by
PDF files.
A PDF file.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is that from what I remember, the statistics, most of them aren't killed. Most of them turn up alive. But a lot of them
I don't know
killed.
if most of them. Some of them do turn up alive.
I thought majority was that
kids,
they turn up alive.
People that go missing, most of them do turn up alive.
Yeah.
But I mean...
Well, no, what I meant by this is that the numbers it's mostly somebody they know.
Yeah.
And those people that they know usually don't kill them.
Yeah.
So most of them kind of turn up
because a lot of missing abducted child cases, it's usually like custody disputes.
Custody disputes.
Is what's the most common.
Or you got some fucking dude who's a PDF file and he loves his little fucking 7-year-old cousin or 8-year-old cousin and runs off with her. He has no intent of killing her. Okay.
Although some of them do, but yeah.
It's rare. It's more likely based on what I saw, the data, is that he gets caught with her. She's returned to the family. Usually that's what happens. But most PDF files are not killers. Most of them are just molesters.
Well, one of the cases that was in the poll this week that I was actually going to do before I found out that this had won the poll was the case that we were talking about when we were talking about Sylvia Brown and all her wrong predictions, which every single one of them was wrong, was the kid that got kidnapped and she told his family he was dead, but then they found out later that he had been kidnapped by a PDF file and was still alive. Like 4 years later, he was being kept prisoner. Yeah. They only found him after he kidnapped another kid.
Yeah, I remember.
And then they found that kid, and then the first kid was like still there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And had been kept,
the danger is if the kid is abducted by a stranger. That's the main danger.
Yeah. Which does happen, but it's a lot rarer.
It's a lot more rare. But the thing is that the survival rate is lower if it's a stranger.
Yeah, because usually they're kidnapping you for a reason, rape and murder, just like women. But the thing about that's the thing. It's just kind of like, just like in rape and murder cases or abduction and murder cases, most of the time, it's someone the person knows. It's a family member or someone who's like a coworker, friend, someone like that's been stalking them or something like that. Very, very rarely, it does happen. It's just a total stranger. Like I said, it does happen, but that's like the smallest percentage. It's usually somebody. If you're gonna get murdered, it's usually by somebody you know. And like I said, if a woman's gonna get murdered, it's almost always their husband, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, ex-husband. Statistically, that's why that's always the first suspect. They're not being mean. That's just usually
statistically, it's what it is.
Statistically, that's who it is usually.
Yeah.
Like random shit is thankfully pretty rare. It does happen, but statistically, it's pretty rare.
Yeah, he wants to divorce her. He doesn't want to lose any of his shit, so he stages her death. Shit like that. Fucking, she cheats on him. He fucking loses it. He kills her. Then he tries to turn it into a break-in scene. Oh, somebody broke in. You know, it's that kind of shit.
Yeah, it's usually. I mean, they have whole fucking true crime series about that.
Or fucking ex-boyfriend, he's fucking stalker. He's fucking totally obsessed with her.
That happens a lot too.
He wants her and nobody else can have her, so he kills her.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
So I do kind of feel like Gunderson was not the main player, but he was a major player in, the media pushing the Satanic Panic narrative because he was a former FBI agent. He was on a lot of talk shows like Geraldo and stuff like that, like talking about it, and they talked to him like he was an expert in the matter, even though he had never investigated any cases like that, like when he was in the FBI, because there weren't really any like that. Even if there were, he wasn't involved in them. So, but because he was in the FBI, he had that authority, he had that cachet, so everybody was like, oh, well, he must know what he's talking about. So they just kind of took his words at face value. And the fact that he came on all these talk shows and said, I believe that 60,000, 70,000 children or whoever are being abducted every year and sacrificed to Satan, I guess everyone not everyone, but a lot of people kind of bought it because it was coming from somebody that supposedly had some authority like that. I mean, yeah, he was saying stuff about, he was on Geraldo one time and he said that there was in Mason County, Washington, there's this mass grave and there's thousands and thousands of bodies in there. And, they're not even going to go bother digging them all up because it's there's too many of them and all this other kind of stuff. Did he have any evidence for this assertion? Of course he did not. It was just something that he was saying. But the fact that he was in the FBI, everyone was kind of oh, well, there must be something to that kind of thing. And the thing about it, too, is that, and to their credit, some members of the media did ask him this particular question because you would think, look, if you supposedly know all this information, why are you not reporting it to the relevant authorities, right? To have something done about it. Why are you just on Geraldo, flapping your jaws about it? And his excuse was that, well, I find out this information through sources of which he would not say who they were or where they were or anything like that. Well, if I said who they were, then they would be killed. So I don't really want to compromise them. And he's plus, I don't want to say anything to any law enforcement agencies because I don't know if they're in on it. Because he was starting to think, as time went on, that all of these higher-ups, in law enforcement and stuff like that, were all in on it, and that if he reported it to them, then, it would put a target on his back. So that was another kind of excuse that he used, why he never reported. If he knew all of this information, why he never reported or not, why he never, got anything done about it. Why they never killed him, who knows? Because he was the one flapping his lips on fucking daytime TV every day. You know what I mean? And he did say that they were coming after him, but I don't think I believe that. But so that was his excuse. You weren't here, but his excuse was, I get all this information from sources, and I'm going to be exposing them to danger if I say who they are. And it's and I don't want to report any of this to law enforcement because they might be in on it.
That's all very convenient, though.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's
Yeah.
all very convenient. For why you can't report any of this horrific information that you have. Because honestly, when he said stuff like that, particularly when he said this stuff about the mass grave in Washington, some of the law enforcement, they were where? Tell, where'd you hear that? Tell us about it. We're gonna investigate. Oh, well, I can't tell you. Where, because it will compromise my source, and it's I don't know if you guys are in on it. So it's so you're just pulling shit out of your butt is what you're doing. If you don't have anything to back shit up, then you don't have anything. If you have all these excuses for why you can't give evidence, why you can't give information, then I'm just going to assume you're just making it up. Really? I mean, because I don't have any reason not to think that, Yeah. So it just seems like it was just all excuses. I can't tell anybody because they are all in on it.
Xanada says, if somebody tells you to believe them because they're FBI, they probably wouldn't believe you. And then Gilded Age Phoenix says, no, it's because the establishment shills that they don't believe the FBI. No, the FBI is the establishment. Yeah, definitely. Most of the American federal government is not for the people. It doesn't serve the people. It has nothing to do. It serves the rich corporations and the oligarchs that own the United States. That's who it's for. It's not for you. They give a fuck about you. I know. Fucking me and a lot of my family members worked for them.
Dude, I figured that out when I was a kid.
They don't give a fuck about you.
That's why I never thought
they don't work for you.
That's why I never thought I would get murdered for saying anything.
Yeah,
I was who the fuck gives a fuck what I
they
say?
Don't
Nobody.
give a fuck. Yeah.
I'm nobody.
The money doesn't come from you. It comes from the people above them. They're employees to corporations. The people you vote for and elect are employees of the fucking corporations and the oligarchs that own the United States and Europe. They got nothing to do with you. They're just running cover and giving you lip service, making you feel better. That's all it is. Why they rob you.
Well, and Xanadu makes the point. It's like most Americans, regardless of politics, are skeptical of government agencies. It's not a left-right issue.
Of course.
Well, and honestly, it's good to have healthy skepticism
Yeah.
about what you're being told, particularly about people who, in authority, who have a vested interest in not telling you.
Don't trust any authority.
I don't trust any.
Fuck no.
Any
Everything they
motherfucker.
tell,
I don't care who they are.
everything they tell you to do benefits rich people, not poor people. Rich people and corporations. All the damn drug industries, the military-industrial complex, which sounds cheesy as fuck, but it is. Eisenhower was totally right. The military-industrial congressional complex, and you can throw the media in there too with Hollywood and cable TV. That's all that same system, and they work for the rich people, not you. They give a fuck about you. Beat that into your head. I'm very patriotic about about America, but it's about the American people, not the fucking Washington, D.C. They're corrupt. You got some good states out there, but really, it's the individual people that I care about. The United States is a force of destruction in the world. It just wages war.
Well, we have been for a very long time.
Since World War II, we have only been a source of destruction in the world. Sorry to tell you all that. We're the bad guys.
I'm pretty sure everybody knows that.
Yeah, right.
Are we the bad guys?
All those wars we lost, and they were all for rich people. They had nothing to do with helping people or spreading democracy or these are the fucking lies. It's about getting big military contracts and keeping rich people rich and keeping poor people poor.
I mean, it's kind of been like that forever. It's not just us.
Kinda.
It's
just now because we live in a network society with the internet.
It's more obvious.
We can now speak the truth about it. People can be heard. This is all lies.
And like I said, it's like I don't even think that's a controversial thing to say anymore because it's like everybody. Maybe it was like decades ago, but
well, the University of Princeton came out about 10 years ago and fucking mapped it all out and said, this is not a democracy. It never was. It's an oligarchy.
Well, like
Every time you vote for these people, the people
like
that you put into power only fucking serve the corporations and powerful people, powerful families. What they actually do. So it's just an illusion. They're giving you the illusion of choice. This is a dictatorship, basically. It's just a very high-tech one, and it's friendly. It has a friendly face. Swastikas and shit don't work anymore. Marching and all that kind of shit. No. They're going to put some friendly bullshit. Unicorns farting out fucking pixie dust and fucking rainbow flags and shit like that. But that's not what that is. It's not what it is. It's a totalitarian dictatorship. Very high-tech. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
Okay,
I'm through with that shit.
Thank you. All right. So, now one thing that contributed, probably, to Gunderson's paranoia, and this was going back a couple years before he even started crying to Ronald Reagan, was that, remember I talked about that woman, the Helena Stoeckley woman?
Yeah.
That was supposedly the hippie that was there killing the family? Okay, she was found dead in her apartment in 1983. However, the cause of her death was not mysterious. She just died of like cirrhosis of the liver.
Yeah.
However, because of she'd supposedly been involved in this black cult situation, like I think Gunderson spun that as though, oh my god, like the FBI bumped her off. He thought that she was assassinated using some covert technique, you know what I mean, that made it look like cirrhosis. I mean, that's what the coroner said. It looked like cirrhosis. It looked like natural causes. Like she wasn't, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So he thought, well, she was murdered because of what she knew, because she was in this cult and she talked about it or whatever. So there was that. He also said that he got his own death threat. I don't know if this is true. He might have just made this up. He said he got a death threat, which seems a little... This seems like a movie to me. He said that he got 13 red roses, 13 chrysanthemums, and a note that was left on the front lawn in front of his apartment. And the note said, "Poacher in the grass, once a cub the lion sees, shades of death and life." Okay. Doesn't sound very threatening to me. But, alright. Like I said, we only have his word for that, so I don't even know if that happened. But he said that he got that and that it was a death threat. and that he was going to be next or something like that. Which, spoiler alert, he lived a really long time, okay? Like, he didn't die young or nothing. Like I said, Helena Stoeckley died kind of young, but she was a drug addict. She was an alcoholic. She had, like, a lot of health problems, you know what I mean? So she just died in her apartment. So, yeah. So he thought he got death threats from various sources. Now, so at this point, during the 80s, he's kind of shown up on talk shows and everything like that, but he's also kind of trying to live, like, on the down low a little bit. Like, he's not really... I don't think he really had, like, a fixed address. He was kind of, like, moving from city to city. He wasn't, like, under a fake name or anything like that, but he was just kind of, like, trying to move around. And he was saying he was doing that because of the, you know, forces that were marshaled against him that were trying to get him or something like that. Now, many have speculated that the reason for him doing this was probably not because he thought that someone was going to murder him because of what he knew, because he had blown the lid off this whole worldwide satanic cult thing. But they thought he might have been trying to escape fraud charges because him and two other guys, both of whom had criminal records, they set up an investment firm that would basically take money from people, like, in upfront payments, and then they would promise to give them loans, like, later on, but they never gave them the loans. They basically just, like, stole all their money. And the FBI was investigating him for that, for fraud, because of this fake company that he set up to steal money from people. So they thought that maybe that was why he kind of went on the run about this time. Because, yeah, he was running from the FBI, but not for satanic reasons, because he was, like, stealing people's money. And the FBI were investigating him for that.
Phantom mentioned the new Salem's Lot trailer. He said it looked generic as fuck. We saw it. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. It looked good.
It looked like they were sticking real close to the story, which I liked.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Oh, and I just want to remind everybody is that me and Jen are sitting here drinking, doing the show on a Wednesday night. And if y'all want to buy a Jen a drink, you can just go ahead and drop her a fucking super chat in the fucking chat section. If you're listening to the show recorded, you can always give us a super thanks. Thank you very much. The show is funded by y'all, by our audience.
Just like PBS.
Just like PBS.
Viewers like you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get a free tote bag or nothing like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Haven't had a super chat yet. Cheap fucks.
I'm gonna put it out there. Next Wednesday's show is the day before my birthday, so
yeah,
you might
yeah.
on that hard.
They might want to wait. Who knows?
We love you guys, just
yeah.
Not just because you gave us money, but yeah.
You sure you don't want to go to Mannequins? Because I don't think we have a fucking I don't think we have a Memento Mori coming. I don't think it's scheduled yet.
Well, we have the regular Saturday night though.
We have the regular Saturday, yeah. Okay. If you want to do a regular Saturday to see what that's like, we can do that. Think it'll be as good as the other time?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll see.
We'll talk about that at the end.
We'll talk about it at the end. Okay.
Because there's some shit we want to say. We can do like a little sidetracks at the end after we finish talking about Ted Gunderson. Because I kind of want to get into that before I forget too much about it.
We still got a lot of Ted Gunderson left, right?
Yeah, some. Not a huge amount.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not. It's only 9:23. We're fine.
Yeah, we're only like an hour or so in.
Yeah, we're good on time.
An hour 23.
Yeah, like less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
Less than 2 hours.
It just says 1 hour ago we started.
No, it's 1:58.
Okay.
20.
It'll say 2 hours ago in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it just goes 1 hour, 2 hours.
Okay, yeah.
It doesn't keep track like that. But yeah, so like I said, he said his claim was that he was running around because the FBI was after him for blowing the satanic conspiracy wide open. But like I said, he was also under investigation for claims that he was stealing people's money. It was like a fake company that he'd set up to defraud people out of money. But he had all of these stories that he was being followed, that FBI agents were breaking into his house, that they were putting poison into his heaters, they were tapping his phones, hacking into his computers, shit like that. I kind of doubt that any of that was really happening. Like I said, not impossible, but I kind of doubt it. So yeah. And the thing about it, okay. Ted Gunderson, I kind of feel like he was kind of a bit, I don't know if he was a big, huge name, like in the 80s. He was on like a lot of talk shows and stuff, and particularly if you followed anything to do with Satanic Panic and stuff. But I kind of feel like nowadays, you know, since he died in 2011, I kind of feel like now he's like very much like a fringe conspiracy figure. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is that, so after he started out with the MacDonald case and this whole satanic black cult situation, he kind of started applying that template to everything. Like I said, I don't know if a lot of these, I don't think a lot of these conspiracy theories were like started with him, because some of them might have started with other people and he just advocated for them or whatever and just tied them in with this whole narrative that he had going on. But, you know, he'd never met a conspiracy theory he didn't like. Honestly, the list of shit that he like advocated it's like a hit list of like all the biggest conspiracy theories. I want to get in a little bit too into like the McMartin case, because I mean, I don't want to get too much into it because we talked about it, I think, like on the last Satanic Panic show that we did. But he wasn't involved in it directly, as far as I'm aware. I think he got involved in it like after it was already over and like gave his opinion on it, which was kind of how a lot of the shit happened. But the McMartin case, if you don't remember, it was this big daycare sexual abuse trial that happened in like 1980s. It was resolved in 1990. There were no convictions. And the thing about it that, and like I said, this is, again, the shitty thing about it is that child sexual abuse is absolutely real and does happen. Like, you know, it's, I don't know if I'd say it's common. It's obviously more common than it should be. And the thing about the McMartin case, though, was that the whole accusation was started by a woman who was mentally ill, whose kid was not even a regular, like he wasn't even registered there. She just kind of like dropped him off there one day and they felt bad, so they kind of took him in. And basically she was like looking at his butthole and like saw some weird stuff. Why? I don't know.
Why is she looking at his butthole?
But that's, I don't know.
That's some weird shit.
I don't know. And thought it looked funny and was like, oh, well, obviously they're molesting him. And then it was just this whole thing. And like the cops got involved and then they started questioning all these kids. And like if you read a lot of the transcripts of the interviews with these children, it
didn't make any fucking sense.
They're obviously coaching them to say, I mean, they're kind of cajoling them to say what they want them to say.
That's the one where
and some of the shit that the kids came up with was ridiculous.
Yeah. That Satanists showed up in a balloon.
That they could fly.
That they could be flushed down a toilet into a secret room. All kinds of shit.
That Chuck Norris was molesting.
That Chuck Norris was there, yeah.
That's kind of believable.
Yeah.
That was like the most believable claim. At least he's a real person. Well, at least he's a real person. They were saying they were being molested by elephants and giraffes.
Yeah.
You know, they were saying like there was witches flying on brooms. It's like there was obviously the supernatural shit.
The whole shit about them showing up in a balloon, that was fucking awesome. They showed in a balloon, and that they got flushed down the toilet.
Yeah, that's how you got to these like secret rooms.
The secret rooms.
They flushed the kids down the toilets because obviously that's how that works.
Yeah, obviously
they were super big toilets.
A kid will fit down a toilet. Yeah.
So the shit they were coming, and like I said, I've read some of the transcripts of the interviews they did with the kids, and they're obviously coaching.
We did a whole show on the Satanic Panic as one of our first shows.
We did two. Actually, we did two shows on the Satanic. But we did a later one.
That shit was fucking ridiculous, and people went to jail over that shit.
Yeah, none of these people did, thankfully, but like some people did though.
Years.
Some people did though.
Over. Because you flushed a kid down a toilet, and fucking, you showed up in a balloon, and
like a normal person would be like, "What the fuck?"
You had a giraffe molest the kid, just weird shit.
Oh my god, so depraved. How'd you get that giraffe to do that?
Some of those people did like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, like I said, none of these people got convicted, like in the Martin case, but it went on for like a really long time. And it was like a huge.
And they were
like,
just people working at a daycare center.
Yeah, they were working at a daycare center.
Yeah.
And like I said, the whole accusation. So nobody had said anything about anything until this weird woman whose kid didn't even really go there.
Yeah.
Looked at her kid's butthole for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And thought something looked weird about it.
Yeah.
And said, "Oh well, somebody there must be molesting my kid."
Yeah.
and started the whole ball rolling.
Yeah, and then they're accusing fucking Chuck Norris of doing it.
And innocent elephants and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's just, so it was crazy. And like I said, some of the transcripts, like the cop or whoever is questioning the kid will be like, well, hasn't, like, I can't remember the name of the dude, because it was a dude where it was a family that ran it. And it's like, well, aren't you scared of him? Like, didn't he ever hurt you? And the kid's like, no. Well, are you sure? Like, you think about that. Like, so they kept, like, trying to, like, cajole them into, like, saying what they wanted them to say. Yeah. Like, and it was very clear that that's what they were doing.
Yeah, you can get a young kid to say anything.
These were, like, little kids.
Yeah.
So it was just, like, a ridiculous fucking... So, but, man, Gunderson went all in on this. Yeah. And thought, well, this is more evidence of this black cult... worldwide conspiracy thing that he was like getting so into at this point.
Now, in case you just joined us, we're not fucking saying that fucking bad shit doesn't happen. Bad shit does happen. Fucking there's a case where part of the Catholic Church that was running a damn school for wayward girls, they were pimping those girls out to the cops and local politicians, and a nun found out she was going to tell, and they killed her.
Watch The Keepers.
Yeah, it was here in the United States. That shit did happen. Are they an international Satanist cult? No,
it was just like one school.
It was just a school, and the people that worked at the school started to get a lot of pull in the local government, and we're using these fucking underage fucking wayward schoolgirls as fucking hoes.
Well, because they knew that they didn't have any...
Because they knew they couldn't say anything.
Support or any recourse. Yeah. Because no one would believe them.
Yeah, so they put them in the Catholic schoolgirl outfits and fucking pile them into a police car, and fucking the cops would run through them. Wild shit. That was the 70s. Wasn't it 70s or 60s? I think it might be 70s, wasn't it?
Maybe. I can't remember now. I kind of wanted to rewatch that.
It's one of the New England states, from what I remember. It wasn't Ohio. It wasn't a Midwest state. It was a New England.
Yeah, where did the Keepers happen? Yeah, it was. I thought it was like Pennsylvania
or some shit.
Somewhere like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, that was wild. And they did kill that nun. That nun was going to expose it, and they killed her.
Yeah, because she found out about it.
Yeah. So weird shit does happen.
They might have killed a couple other people too, but they're not entirely sure.
So weird, and the cops were involved, and fucking the mayors and all kinds of shit were involved during that time. And was that a conspiracy? Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, that's like a smaller.
Yeah, but that was just one of the animals in the jungle.
Right.
From what I said further, that was just one of the animals in the jungle. It wasn't connected to anything else.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
For some reason, like I said, a certain kind of person,
yeah,
it makes them feel better when they find out some shit like that, which is fucked up. I mean, obviously that's fucked up.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it makes them feel better to think that, oh, well, it's linked to a bigger thing.
Yeah.
I don't understand like why that would make them feel better.
Because in their minds, if it's linked to a bigger thing, then there's a purpose for it.
Then there's a reason.
And there's a reason for it.
No, there's not a reason. There's no reason other than people suck and they're fucked up.
That evil is centralized. And if the evil is centralized, maybe we could fight it.
That's almost that's a very religious mindset because it's like everything's tied back to Satan. So I kind of feel like maybe that's where Gunderson is coming from. Everything has to be tied back to one figure, Satan. So it's like everything is linked to that. I guess that's less scary for some people than just thinking like here's just shitheads doing random fucked up shit, which is how it really is.
Yeah, what it was is bad people in a church.
Yeah.
Bad people in a church institution hooked up with bad people in law enforcement and local government, and they were having sex parties with these girls.
Yeah. And not everyone was involved, obviously. Like, some of the people in school didn't know what was going on. Yeah. Some of the people knew about it and, like, tried to report it. Like, not everybody in law enforcement was involved. It was just kind of, like, some of the people. But, you know, that's what I mean. Like, you know, there are smaller conspiracies like that, but it's not, like, linked to a bigger thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just shitty people being shitty. It's just random. It happens. It's not Satan. It's not linked to anything bigger. Like I said, I don't know why that makes some people feel better, but evidently it does. So this whole thing, he got all in on the McMartin thing, and he seemed to think that, I don't know if he thought like all of the allegations that the kids gave were real, because obviously most of the claims that the kids made were obviously impossible. So that's the thing. And like I said, yes, horrible child abuse does happen. It happens in daycares. It happens in people's houses. It happens in churches. It happens everywhere. So it's like, it kind of makes me mad that we have these kind of cases where it's obviously fabricated, like the shit they're coming up, and they had to kind of coerce the kids into saying that they were being abused in these various ways, and then they would make up all these fantastical stories. And I think that takes that takes resources away from children that are actually being abused, and I think that's a bad thing, you know? So I think that was one of the main things that pissed me off about the Satanic Panic, is that it was taking resources away from, you know, groups that actually needed it and putting it somewhere where nothing was really going on. It was just like a waste of everyone's time when, you know, real horrific shit was going on that everyone was ignoring because they were so worried about, oh my god, all of this is going on over here, when nothing was going on over there. So there was that. So Gunderson is on all of these talk shows. He gave like a bunch of conferences and stuff too. He was all in on the New World Order kind of stuff, and talking about, oh, they have like all these slave auctions. They have like all these people. And he also made the claim that 4,000 ritual human sacrifices happened in New York City every year. I think he made that claim in like the mid-90s. I'm sorry, I just do not believe that. I don't believe that. You know?
I was reading what they were saying. What were we talking about?
He made the claim
Yeah.
in I believe it was 1995,
Mm-hmm.
that 4,000 ritual human sacrifices happened every year in New York City.
No.
No.
Too many.
No.
You couldn't hide that many.
I mean, in the 90s, well, crime had actually kind of started to go down in New York City at that point. I think the high point was maybe late 80s, early 90s in New York City, but it started like declining pretty precipitously after that.
I just ain't gonna buy it.
But 4,000 ritual human sacrifices. Look, I'm willing to say, I don't think there were 4,000 murders in New York City, like in a several year time span. Were there?
If you told me 40 a year, I might believe that.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit more believable.
I'd be like, I might believe it.
I mean, even that's stretching credulity a bit. Maybe 4. 4
right.
ritual human sacrifices. I'd believe that.
Yeah.
I'd believe that. And we're not talking just like random ass murders. Like, you know, rape murders, like drug dealers shooting each other, shit like that. Like just regular ass murders. Like, yeah, there's a lot of those.
Well, 40...
But ritual human sacrifices?
Yeah. 40 of them is a little under fucking one a week. You know what I mean?
That's still too many. I think that's still too many.
If they're doing it on their version of the Sabbath or something, that'd be 52. You know.
Like I said,
just think I buy this too many.
If you told me it was 4, I might believe.
Where are they going to get these kids? How are they going to source them? Well, they have an
explanation.
Their explanation was breeders
for everything.
They
kidnap women, and honestly, that was another big thing.
Yeah.
During the Satanic Panic was like women that would come on the talk shows, and would say that they got kidnapped, and were, you know, constantly impregnated, and then their babies would
sacrificed,
but here's the thing, and like I said, I'm not belittling, like, yes, women are raped all the time, like women are sexually assaulted. It's like, you know, obviously that happens, but the thing about it is that all of these women, as far as I can remember, didn't remember the shit until they went to some therapist or hypnotist who allegedly put that idea in their head. Yeah. Because remember, during the Satanic Panic, and we talked about this on one of the Satanic Panic shows, like particularly that Michelle Remembers book, like about recovered memory syndrome, there was kind of a thing where therapists, I don't know if they were doing this on purpose necessarily, but they were hypnotizing people, and then they were like kind of planting ideas in their heads about abuse that had happened, like satanic ritual abuse that had happened when they were children. And so when the people woke up later, they thought of them like real memories.
Yeah. I remember watching, I think it was either Maury Povich or it was Geraldo. They had one of those supposed breeders on there.
Yeah, there were a lot of those ladies on back then. Yeah,
and I think there might have been a couple other people, but it was mostly these breeders. And sitting up in the front row, I think it was Geraldo. I think it was Geraldo's show.
That sounds like shit, Geraldo.
He had an FBI guy there.
Not Ted Gunderson, was it?
No, it was another FBI guy. Listening to all this, and I remember I was watching this shit on the fucking TV, you know, I was riveted to it, you know, it was fucking 1987 or 88, you know what I mean? I was like, wow, you know, this is some wild shit, is this really happening? Because I had already seen some weird shit by this time, you know, fucking poltergeist stuff, so I was like, maybe this is actually happening. That FBI guy stood up and asked him, said, what do you make of all this? And he goes, no, we've looked into this already, you know, we've looked into it, there's nothing to this. And like, well, what they're saying, this and that, and he goes, what they're saying, I mean, didn't you investigate? You know, like, yeah, we investigated, and every time we investigate that person, their records never show that they're where they said they were at certain times, and their lives are not unusual in any way, and their relatives don't back up what they're saying, and they're like, no, this is fantasy.
And like I said, I think a lot of the people that I think a lot of them were victims of these therapists that were planting these ideas in their heads, because there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah, but the FBI guy on that one show said that they looked into this shit all the time with these people. And basically what he's saying is it boils down to the same kind of testimony you get from the people who say that they were abducted by aliens in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That there's no physical evidence of any of this. And without physical evidence, then they're very skeptical.
Well, and I feel kind of bad because people that say they were abducted by aliens, I mean, that's obviously kind of crazy, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's impossible.
We're talking about Whitley Strieber.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking at you, Whitley Strieber. Yeah, it's not impossible.
How dare you?
It's just that, I mean, obviously you can laugh that off, okay? Yeah. But the thing about it is that women that come out and, you know, say they were raped and impregnated and stuff like that could happen. You know, women get raped all the time. So it's like, so I'm kind of more reluctant to like not to shit on that. But when you come up with this story that you were like impregnated over and over again, and they kept sacrificing your baby, after a certain point there would be evidence of that. Yeah, you can't just do that
because I'm sure what he didn't. I don't remember him saying this on the show, but looking back on it, probably how they figured out it was bullshit is they asked for a physical examination of the women to see if they had ever given birth before. Yeah. And chances are they fucking had never shown any signs of giving birth. They didn't have any kids. Right. The women that are saying this. So no.
Because they can tell if you've had kids.
They can tell if you had kids before. So probably what they did was just says, well, can we have a physical examination of you? Just, you know, and they would probably go, oh no. So there it's like, okay, then you're not telling us the truth. So,
yeah, because like I said, you can make whatever claim you want, but if you don't have any evidence for it.
Then... If a woman was being impregnated every fucking 9 months to use her as a baby breeder, there'd be and she said, and their story said that they gave birth to like 4 or 5. She'd have the physical signs of
and someone would notice that. Like, people. Did she disappear for years at a time and nobody knew where she was? Right. Did anybody see her when she was pregnant?
Yeah, they could go to the family and go, oh no, she's been here the whole time. You know what I mean?
She wasn't pregnant. She was just going to her job every day like regular.
Yeah, and then she got pay stubs that she went to her job. So there's a bunch of different ways where you could figure that out.
Yeah. So, like I said, I kind of feel like there was a lot of that was just, like, implanted memories. Some of the people might have just been doing it for the grift. They were trying to sell books or whatever, but... You know, because there was a lot of that going on, too. Yeah, but because there was a lot of money in
From what I remember, the late 80s, the FBI didn't buy a word of this because they looked into it. They looked into it. The real FBI. They looked into it, and there was... the evidence pointed, I guess, in the other direction. That the women were lying. That, you were collecting paychecks the whole time.
Yeah. And like I said, nobody saw them pregnant. They didn't disappear for months at a time. Right. Or nothing like that. Right. Like, these claims that they're making, it's like, oh, they kept me prisoner for all this time. They're like, bitch, you were right here.
Bitch, you were going to work.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You were right here.
Right.
So it was that. So, but he went all in on that. And he kind of went on the circuit. You know what I mean? Like, all these talk shows, conferences, and stuff like that. And he was kind of, as I said, like, kind of portrayed as, like, an expert in satanic ritual abuse. And he knew all about it. And he was saying, like, all this stuff was happening, like, all over the country. And it was, like, linked to this global, like, you know, fucking web of satanic cults or whatever. So, as I said, because one conspiracy is never enough, you pretty much got to believe all of them, right? If you're gonna get all in on one. He pretty much believed all of them. Some of the more minor ones that he believed that actually kind of maybe have like a seed of truth in them. He did believe that the government knew that the Japanese were going to attack Pearl Harbor, like, in advance, which that's not too crazy. I do kind of feel like that there might be a seed of truth to that. He said that he had worked on the JFK case, which is not entirely true. He did tell people that, but I don't think he worked on that case from everything that I read, that they said he didn't work on that case in any official capacity. And he knew exactly what happened with that. So he bought into the conspiracy behind that. Also, he thought 9/11 was an inside job. He also thought that the Oklahoma City bombing and the 1993 World Trade Center bombing were also inside jobs. Like I said, none of these are super, super out there. Like I said, a couple of them maybe have like a seed of truth to them, but you know. But then he starts saying stuff like kids were being bused to Area 51 and they were either brainwashed and sold into sex slavery or had their DNA taken. I think he even said that his own kids were taken there and had their DNA taken. I'm not sure how that occurred. But yeah, so that's getting a little more out there. He also said that several celebrity deaths weren't just accidents or diseases or whatever. They were all killed because of what they knew. One of the people that he said was not an accident was Sonny Bono, who very famously died in a skiing accident.
Yeah, as an accident.
He hit a tree or something like that. But he said that, he knew too much or something like that. I'm like, really? Sonny Bono? Okay, I'm sure he wasn't like super
He's just pissed off he lost Cher.
Yeah, I guess so.
Cher's fine ass.
And then the weird thing too is he also thought that Gary Coleman was murdered. I'm like, what the fuck would Gary Coleman know about anything? He was he was on Different Strokes and like some other stuff. Like what secret knowledge did he have that had him get murdered?
Well, it's just cool to throw that out.
Yeah, I think he was just latching on to any famous celebrity that died at that time. And people still do this. Anytime a celebrity dies, it must have been like some kind of, like they got rubbed out for some fucking
Coleman
reason.
died, I think, of something with his kidneys, wasn't it?
I thought it was like a kidney disease or liver or something like that. I can't remember now because it was a while back. He also said that David Carradine was killed by transsexual prostitutes for some reason.
No, David Carradine died jerking it.
That was autoerotic asphyxiation.
Yeah, he hung himself in the back of a fucking bathroom door.
I think Michael Hutchins from NXS died like that too.
Yeah. Do not put things around your neck and jerk it,
please
boys.
don't do that.
Don't do that.
I know people and I was reading the other day. I don't remember where I read this.
Yeah.
But they were saying that like choking during sex has kind of become a lot more common, maybe because of porn or whatever. But I'm just like, oh my god, that is so fucking dangerous. Like, even if you don't kill the person, like, you could still give them brain damage.
They're trying to get, like, a high off of it.
I know, but, like, it's not worth it.
It's like a euphoria. Evidently, these motherfuckers going solo, they had to have it, though. They tied some shit around their neck and tied it to the back of the dam. In David Carradine's case, I believe he either tied it...
Wasn't it like the back of the door?
Back of the doorknob.
Like it
was the back of the doorknob or a door... some kind of maybe a hanger, like a fucking... bathrobe hanger on the center of the door, something like that. And was pulling down, was looking at some kind of pornographic material. In those days, it had been a magazine. And was just going to town with it. And he was controlling the pressure by leaning forward and shit. And he lost fucking control of that shit and fucking slipped off asleep and hung himself on the fucking back of the door, dick in hand.
I can't imagine any orgasm.
They found his ass fucking hanging from the back of the door with a fucking girly magazine. I'm assuming it's girls. I think he was straight. And a lubed up fucking pecker in his fucking wet hand and shit. Imagine how embarrassing that is. Do not fucking put something around your neck and jerk it, dudes. Don't do it. It's too risky.
I mean, can't you just jerk it like regular? I don't understand. Like, why?
Jerk it regular.
Like I said, it can't be that good. It can't be worth dying over. I would just be too worried about it.
He went fucking straight kung fu with that shit.
I guess. Like I said, I know it's pretty common, and like I said, I think like that kind of thing is like kind of common, but holy crap, I would be like fucking terrified. Like I said, even if it doesn't kill you, you could still get brain damage. You know?
Yeah, David Carradine fucking... there wasn't much to damage there.
Well, no, I'm just saying, it's like, it's not really worth it. It's like, how good can the fucking orgasm be? Come on.
I don't think they're, well, they're not doing it so bad that they're fucking... They're only doing it for a few minutes, so it'd probably be okay. Just if you lose consciousness, you can't...
Well, yeah.
You can't release the pressure on the noose.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's what happened to him.
Like I said, and that's not the only time that's happened. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Michael Hutchins from NXS died like that too. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that's...
I thought he could die of suicide.
Well, I think that's what they said at first.
He's probably ripping away on it.
I thought.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I thought that's
playing that skin flute.
Yeah. Which, like I said, there's no shame. Like, everybody masturbates. I'm just saying that it's just kind of like, man, I really don't want to fucking die like that. That would be super... Like, I wouldn't be embarrassed. I'd be dead. But it's just kind of like...
Then they're looking at what you're jerking it with and like, damn, he liked that?
Yeah, that's like, that would be so fucked up. Like I said, you wouldn't know because you'd be dead. But it's just like, it'd be embarrassing for your family and shit like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I wouldn't want to do that to my family.
If you were jerking it to some fucking inappropriate shit.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh, this guy was like fucked up. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. But look, like I said, I like orgasms as much as the next person, but man, I don't want to fucking risk death over it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't want to risk death over it.
Well, that's why those people doing it manually, choking one another a little bit. They're not really choking. They're fucking holding the fucking arteries closed a little bit. Probably safer because if they go out, you just let go.
Yeah, you can just let go.
The danger is you run into fucking Taylor Shabusiness. And that chick fucking knocked his ass out and then fucking let him die because she wanted to see what would happen. And then she
cut his dick off while she was sucking.
While she was sucking it, yeah.
We did a whole show about that crazy bitch.
Taylor Shabusiness, and you can see her on YouTube as they were arresting her. Yeah.
She was like, yeah, whatever.
She's like, yeah, I did that. Yeah. She thought that shit was cool, man. Yeah.
I
loved him. No
reason at all.
Yeah, she loved him. Yeah.
Like I said, you don't really see women doing that kind of shit.
No.
Like I said, we talked about that on the show. It's very, very unusual. That she was just kind of like, I just wanted to see what happened.
She made some kind of mental leap into the world of fantasy, and she decided, you can kill somebody during sex. That's not a big deal. They wanted it, or that kind of. They liked it.
Yeah.
I killed him because I loved him. She was saying that.
Yeah, she said that to the cops. She's like, you ever just love something so much that you just wanted to kill it?
Yeah, and then she's
like... the cop's like, no?
She ate parts... I think she ate parts of him.
She did, yeah.
And then fucking had his head in the bucket.
And kept
his head in the bucket. And fucking... She thought it was all cool. That he'd be cool with that.
Like I said, it's kind of shocking when a dude... It's kind of shocking when a dude does that. When a woman does that, it's super shocking. Like, women just don't usually think like that.
Well, some of the male-female serial killer teams, the women that survived them, said that the women were worse than the men.
But like I said, I think that's a case of like the women trying to please the men, like trying to one up them.
Yeah.
Like, look how much more fucked up I can be than you. Like, look, I'm fucked up. Like, it's like being a pick me girl.
We got a side quest hero there. She likes girls. Some of the murders that I read about were young lesbians, and they fucking killed the fucking girl just horribly. You know what I mean? Torture.
Yeah. Oh, it does happen.
And then fucking.
I'm just saying it's a lot rarer.
Set that girl on fire in a trunk. Of the car, you know what I mean, and they were like, man, fucking, that was like at the level of like hardcore male serial killer misogyny, and it was girls that did it. 2 lesbian girls fighting over a girl that they liked, who she was sleeping with both of them. They killed her.
Like I said, it does happen.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it's a lot rarer.
Yeah, and she wasn't even really a lesbian. The girl they killed, she was kind of an overweight girl who needed attention and started to slide to the little bi direction. They were young, like late teenagers. They fucking killed her because they were fighting over her. That's some weird shit. That's almost kind of like male thinking,
SideQuest here said, yeah, but girls do it for different reasons. Yeah,
I told you why they did it.
Yeah, girls do it for jealousy. Yeah, jealousy, like, I guess, when women kill, it's usually for jealousy if it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or women usually kill, like, women serial killers. It's usually for, like, quote-unquote practical reasons.
Get money.
Like, I'm just poisoning people to get the insurance money or something like that. It's like, or it's like a, what do you call it? Like a Munchausen by proxy kind of thing. Like, I'm just going to kill babies or old people or something like that. But usually it's for practicality. Like, I'm going to marry this dude and then kill him and take his money and then bury him in the backyard and then I'm going to get another one. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's almost like there's no emotion involved, And there's no, you don't see many female sexual serial killers. Like I said, unless it's like a jealousy thing where they're fighting over somebody. Like that happens. But you don't see the thing that you see with male serial killers where it's almost like their sexual identity. Where it's just kind of like they can't get off unless they rape and kill somebody. You know what I mean? You don't see that too much with women. There's usually not like a sexual motive in that way because we're just not the same. It just doesn't really. We're the same in a lot of ways, but not in that way. But we don't really think about that kind of stuff like in that way. Phantom says Shelley Duvall claimed Robin Williams as a shapeshifter or reptilian on Dr. Phil. Yeah, I kind of remember that. She, man, I feel so bad for her. Like, she really has some problems, like, toward the end, you know? But yeah, I feel really bad. Yeah, do you remember that? Phantom said that Shelley Duvall claimed Robin Williams was shapeshifter, reptilian on Dr. Phil.
No shit. Shelley Duvall said that?
Well, like I said, she had a lot
crazy
of
as fuck.
She had a lot of mental problems.
Yeah.
Toward the end, which, like I said, that always kind of made me feel bad for her. But yeah, so let's see. Getting back to old Gunderson. Now, so as I said, he kind of like rode this wave of former FBI agent because every time he was turned up on a show or something like that, they'd always say former FBI agent, which is true. He was. But like I said, they were saying that to give him some cachet or like some authority, which, you know, over the years, maybe you'd think that somebody would have been like, hey, this dude's making some kind of crazy claims. Maybe we shouldn't take him as seriously as we used to, but people still did. So he started getting into this big worldwide Illuminati, Satanic, Masonic, Zionist, conspiracy, New World Order kind of stuff. And he was always talking about it. And he's just like, all these satanic cults, and they're just trying to subvert everyone's lives. And he was going to talk about, he was all in on like all the, heavy metal is of the devil, and the devil is sending radio waves into your brain and all this other kind of shit. And interestingly, since we were mentioning Sylvia Brown earlier, he actually said that he had worked with Sylvia Brown on several cases. I don't know if that's true. But he was on Anderson Cooper, and he was saying, he was backing up Sylvia Brown. She's the most accurate psychic. That I remember. Because James Randi was on, and he was just kind of like, man, she's like a fucking piece of shit, which she is. And, but he was like defending her, and like Gunderson was defending her. Like, oh yeah, we've worked with her a lot of times, which I'm pretty sure they figured out was like not the case. You know what I mean?
So he's jumping on the mainstream fucking talk show bandwagon.
Which is kind of what pushes me more toward him being like a little bit more of a grifter.
He might be grifting.
Like, I think he was just trying to get attention and get money for like whatever the conspiracy theory du jour
and he's
was.
confirming fucking psychics that are already popular in the talk show, circuit. So he can get a gig with him and Sylvia fucking Brown. And that they could start fucking stealing fans from one another.
Yeah, like, so he was just jumping on whatever bandwagon was kind of in the zeitgeist at the time. So like I said, that's kind of, I do think to a point, because he kind of went a lot of his life like kind of with this sort of mindset. So I think he was already primed to have that kind of mindset. But like you said, I think it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, as he went on, he was getting rewarded for that. Like, he was on TV and like, maybe selling books and like associating with these people and selling their books and like maybe making money out of it and everything, like conference fees and whatever.
And he starts thinking it's true.
So he's like, oh well, I must be onto something. Because obviously all these people are listening to me and they're asking me these questions. I'm an expert on it and all this other stuff. So he was like getting reinforced.
We've done whole shows on Sylvia Brown. She was a fucking hoax. Grifter.
Yeah, we did a show about like psychics.
Her accuracy was like 0.
Yeah.
Whatever she said, the truth was the opposite.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like I said, she was almost like a negative psychic.
Yeah.
Like whatever she said, you could just like put the opposite was probably true. But yeah, so interestingly, okay, so I don't want to get too much into this, but one of the books that Gunderson, and I think this is maybe where he got a lot of his ideas. At one of his talks that he was giving, somebody came up to him and gave him a copy of this book that came out in 1958. And this book was called Pawns in the Game by William Guy Carr. And this book was kind of your standard, just everything is like Illuminati conspiracy kind of thing. Very, very anti-Semitic. Very much referencing the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is a forgery.
Probably a hoax.
But he was acting like it was real. Nazis use that a lot too as justification for the final solution.
Well, a bunch of other stuff though.
And a bunch of other stuff, but that as well. But like I said, it's a forgery.
Yeah.
And but they were acting like it was real. And the weird thing about it is that Gunderson, he seemed to think it was real too, and he advocated.
Think what was real?
The protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Okay, let me back up on something here.
Okay, I had a piece.
Somebody has asked me before what I thought of the fucking protocols of the Elders of Zion. I don't have any way of knowing if it's true or not. But you can say this. If that shit is true, what gives the right for this Jewish dude who's supposedly writing this book to speak for all Judaism? It's the same thing as that you'd have... There's been some fucking wacky Christian writings too over the years. Just because some Christian writes it down doesn't mean it's true, and it doesn't mean that all Christians believe what he wrote. So, just the way that was written, from what I remember of it, because I didn't read the whole thing, but I read synopsis of it. The way it's written sounds like somebody with a fucking very grandiose imagination. It just doesn't. It's not written like a religious document either. It's. I don't believe in. I don't believe it was actually a Jewish person that wrote that. If it was kind of like a crackpot Jewish person. They got crackpot fucking.
What? The protocol?
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that even if a Jewish dude did write that,
they're pretty sure that that was not a Jewish person.
I'm gonna fucking go even further. Even if that was a Jewish dude that wrote that, that doesn't mean he's speaking for Judaism. You have crackpot Christians write all kinds of shit. Yeah, it was written by a Christian, but that ain't Christianity.
But see, the tendency, humans, if they're in an in-group, they have a tendency to look at one member of an out-group and think, oh, all members of the out-group are like that, instead of just thinking, oh, that one person's a crackpot.
I'm gonna fucking tell y'all something. When I was in the army, I served fucking 6 months in Egypt and fucking Israel. Went to Israel all the time. Fucking would go to Eilat, fucking Tel Aviv. It was a nice place. I fucking really liked Israel. I liked Egypt too. I liked both the Arabs and the I liked both the Arabs and the Jews actually. Israelis are different than American Jews. It's a different culture. But the thing what I'm trying to get at is that the Jews here in the United States and in the West are kind of victims of their own success. They've been here for fucking thousands of years, going back during the times of Rome. Jews are overachievers, man. They fucking work hard. They have a very good fucking work ethic.
They tend to value education.
They got a great educational fucking traditions and stuff. They fucking have
that's good.
Good IQs. So they tend to achieve very well in Western society and rise into good positions. Now, you will have to say, I do have to admit that fucking Jews promote each other's work. But the quality of the work they're promoting of other Jews tends to be pretty good. You know what I mean? And, anybody would do that. But they start achieving too much, and then the host society sees it as, wait a minute, they're oppressing us now. All right? And that's really where the Germans were coming from. The nodes of societal control in the media and certain parts of the government and the economy, the Germans got fucking small dick syndrome. They were like, wait a minute, why isn't this ethnic Germans doing this? Well, the ethnic Germans weren't working very fucking hard. The Jews were, So they got into those positions. The Germans, these are the old-fashioned Germans, they freaked out. And they removed them from fucking power, basically. Same thing happened in the Soviet Union, though. Okay.
Just haters.
Yeah. Well, what they did is they start seeing this group of people having success, and they go, wait a minute, this is a racial conspiracy. That's not what it is. Each guy kind of succeeded on their own. Yeah, maybe they did promote the work of a Jewish guy that was a friend of theirs, maybe in psychology or in.
But all friends promote.
But they all kind of do that. Yeah, right. And the thing is, this is the fucking thing that I'm saying. Jews, the reason why they fucking succeeded so well in the West is because they produced good quality shit. They owned a lot of the toy companies that came up with some good toys in the fucking 70s. They were involved in fucking Hollywood. They made good movies. People bought their shit. They're good businessmen, and they knew what would sell. That's just the way the America works. If you fucking can sell, yeah, then that's what it is. So they were very successful.
Yeah, their shit was just better than other people's shit. Well, like I said, that's just because, and this is just a generalization, but culturally, like I said, they tend to value education. They tend to value ambition. They tend to value that.
They're good in they were good in academia, especially in philosophy. They were good at that. Pretty good in medicine.
Which, like I said, you can't shit on people for that.
Yeah. I mean, they were just doing what they did.
Yeah.
They were a high IQ.
They weren't trying to be better than anybody or anything like that.
Right.
They were just like, well, we value this. We value being educated. We value going far in life. We value this. And they just did that.
What could happen,
and other people got mad.
What could happen, though, is that the host ethnic group or the ethnic majority of a fucking society will go, wait a minute, hold on, they've taken over. If they did this, if the Jews did that in China, yeah, the Chinese would say they've taken over. They'd go after them. So it wasn't just a Gentile Jewish conflict. That shit probably would have happened no matter where the Jews went. And they were in a diaspora. They went a little bit of everywhere. So the Jews were always kind of victims of their own success. But here's the fucking funny thing that fucking was done to the Jews is that they couldn't win. If they were high achievers, they would be attacked for fucking being an oppressor class or a super class. If they were low achievers, they'd be attacked for being scum and fucking parasites. So they couldn't win no matter what they did.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, if you're othered, then it doesn't matter what you do. You're always wrong.
And that's how the Germans had them pegged. And I really do believe the Germans believed their shit.
Oh, I'm sure
they believed it.
I'm sure most of them.
Yeah, and they thought they were protecting their own people. We got to wipe these people out because we can't really compete against them. They're like a mafia.
I mean, I don't know if any of them said that out loud, but I think that was what the underlying reason was.
Yeah,
sure.
So they're going like fucking...
They were mad. They were butthurt.
Yeah, so they're going, look, man, fucking they've whipped our asses with capitalism, and then with all these Marxists, they fucking whipped our asses with communism. They're fucking overachievers on one end, but then are fucking coming in a bunch of ghetto Jews from Russia and shit that are fucking... These people are a fucking omnipresent threat. That's the way the Germans are interpreting this shit. And we got to get them out of here. They're not German citizens. They're not ethnically German. Were they right? No. I fucking postulated, because I read this shit years ago, the German Nationalist Socialist Worker Party, the Nazis, could have succeeded, and probably would have succeeded, if they had allowed Jewish people to join their ranks, if they weren't a racist organization. Because there were Jews that wanted to join them. Okay, Jews are not monolithic. They have different value systems, And really, the Nazis today are kind of shown as like the ultimate evil and shit. But that was mostly just because of the fucking the concentration camps and shit. But that happened towards the end. In the beginning part of the Nazis' rise to power, you had a lot of German Jews who were very patriotic who wanted to join that party, but weren't allowed to. Which that was one of Hitler. The reason why the Nazis lost is because they were racist. That's why. Had their ideas been open to everybody, they would have succeeded.
Which still wouldn't have been good, but like I said,
I don't think they would have been very bad if they weren't. No, the worst thing about them was the racism.
Well, yeah, that's true.
If the racism wasn't there, they'd have been all right. They were just anti-communist, and the Soviet Union wasn't very good either. You know what I mean? So.
I mean, nobody's all that good.
The Soviets killed more people than the Nazis did. And
Technically, yes,
the Soviets killed more Jews than the Nazis did.
Technically, yes, they did.
Yeah, so.
But yeah, so the thing about it, so I think that old Ted got a lot of his ideas from this particular book. Because this book, which like I said, came out in the late 50s. And it was very much... based on this whole worldwide Zionist conspiracy kind of thing. So he was kind of into that. But the weird thing about Ted was that he seemed to say some stuff where he seemed to disapprove of the Nazis, which obviously any normal person would. But then the thing about it is that he would turn up at Holocaust denier conferences and shit like that, which kind of makes me think... Because the thing about it is that Ted Gunderson, he's dead now. But even when he was still alive and even after he died, it seems like mostly his stuff is still kind of shared on almost exclusively like real far right kind of groups. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of stuff. And so the fact that he was fine with Holocaust denial, and those kind of groups, this one fucking place that he was at, and he was there, like, and he wasn't even like ashamed of being there or anything like that. They were having, I think it was like a birthday party for this old as fuck dude that had been in the SS. And this dude had opened a museum in Wisconsin that was like memorializing Hitler. And Ted was kind of like, yeah, what a great guy, like what a patriot or whatever. Which I was like, bro, okay. So yeah, so he like kind of went all in on this kind of like, that's what I mean. It's like, I don't know if he ever specifically, he may have, like in all of his writings and stuff like that, he may have also been a Holocaust denier. But it kind of gives me pause, like why he would turn up at these kind of Holocaust denier, like, you know what I mean, kind of neo-Nazi kind of conferences, if he wasn't in with that. Because he did seem to say some stuff that was sort of against Nazis, but then he would turn up at like neo-Nazi type of events, which I thought was kind of like strange. And didn't seem like all that embarrassed about it. You know? So, but yeah, he seemed like real into, I think he even ran for president under the Independent American Party, which was kind of like a far-right kind of party, in Nevada, I think it was. Like, obviously, he was just on the ballot. You know, obviously, he probably only got like 5 votes or whatever. But, so he was like real in with that. And he also got real into like other conspiracies. He was chemtrails, you know, he was all in on that. He also was a big advocate. Like I said, I don't know if this originated with him, because I have heard this subsequently, like on far right kind of stuff, but where when Obama was in, that there were like all these camps for the citizens, and they had all these guillotines and coffins like stored in Georgia and all this other kind of stuff.
They're talking about the FEMA camps?
Yeah, so he was a big advocate of that. Like I said, I don't know if he originated that, because a lot of the stuff that you heard later, like on far right stuff, was stuff that came from him, and then he would say that he just got it from sources, but he would never say where they were. So it might have just been
there are FEMA camps, and they did have plastic coffins and stuff in them. But that doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, the government has sometimes weird contingency plans for plagues, any kind of natural disasters. They're going to have shit like that around.
Well, yeah, that's what. There's not always like a sinister, you know, idea, like, you know, reason behind everything. No. Like sometimes there's practical reasons for that kind of stuff.
And here's another thing: is like being involved with fucking government and stuff through my entire life, my family. A lot of the reasons why they do this shit is grifting. That's a big contract, and maybe they gave that contract to the relative of somebody in government. That's how stupid it can get. Like, we do need some of these places where we could stage something if there's a natural disaster. Hey man, I'll give that shit to you. I'll send you this money, and you fucking we'll do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, pretty much all business works like that.
That's the way business works, yeah.
They're like, hey, I know this guy is like a friend of mine or my nephew or something like that.
He's good
like
at this kind of shit.
Like, he's good at that kind of stuff. Like, we need that. Yeah, it's just like,
I'll throw in this contract and he'll send me back fucking 10%. Fucking there's kickbacks.
Yeah,
and all
like I said, all
shit.
Businesses work like that. I don't know why everybody gets so alarmed like when the government does that. It's
the government is fucking great at that.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
Private businesses do that too.
Yeah.
It's all
now, could a FEMA now for you conspiracy theory defenders, can a FEMA camp be misused by the federal authorities? Yeah. But they could do that with anything, though.
Well, like I said, anything could be.
Anything can happen. Yeah, they could abuse it, but they could also use it right. Like, they were mostly thinking about shits like Hurricane Katrina. Yeah, that was a fucking disaster.
Yeah, side quest here said, we had those in the Army. Sometimes it's just for like prep for a mass casualty.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just about accommodating religious practices. The government avoids mass graves if it can, ideally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean anything nefarious. It's just that in case there's, like I said, like Katrina or some big natural disaster or something like that, it's like they don't just want to throw people in a hole.
Yeah, and they love that shit because it means cha-ching. somebody's budget gets fucking expanded, or you're able to fucking hire one of your relatives as a subcontractor for the government, you can call in Halliburton, which fucking what's his name owned or had a lot of control. Had a lot of control.
Who,
Cheney, yeah, shit like a Cheney and fucking no, it wasn't Cheney, it was the other one. Cheney, I think, has some of Halliburton.
I think he was in on that somehow.
Yeah, see, Halliburton made a shit ton of money on shit like that and prisons. They subcontract.
Oh yeah, like when they privatized all the. They didn't privatize all of them, but they privatized a lot of prisons.
They made private prisons
everywhere.
they
made like huge fucking amount of money.
Rumsfeld, Cheney and Rumsfeld.
There you go.
They made a shit ton of money off that stuff.
Yeah.
The government is grift.
Yeah.
It's not evil. It's just grift. You could say that grift is evil, but it's mostly grift. They're not looking at it.
Like I said, it's everything's kind of like that. Yeah, SideQuest Hero said you want to burn bodies, but some religious practices require the body to be buried, so they always have to have those.
Yeah.
Like that's why. Like I said, like I said, if you have this kind of mindset like Ted Gunderson has, like anything that happens, as innocuous as it is going to be like fuel for that narrative. You know what I mean? So it's just like you're going to see like the most nefarious purpose for it, even though it probably isn't. You know what I mean? I'm kind of willing to give most people the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, like nefarious shit happens all the time. I'm just saying that most of the time, shit like that, they have a reason for it, you know? And it's not necessarily what you think. It's not always like the worst thing. Not always. So this dude, yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, he's making claims 50, 60,000 people a year sacrificed to Satan, which obviously not true. He said that Timothy McVeigh, the guy that did the Oklahoma City bombing, was mind controlled, and that the government was like mind controlling people to do that kind of stuff. And that the whole thing was an FBI cover up. He also would sell, he sold like CDs of like all his lectures and ideas and stuff like that. So like I said, he was running a business, okay? But he also he had a sideline in selling something that supposedly you could test yourself if you had any brain implants or tracking chips. So there was that. He also said that the government had found a cure for Down syndrome, randomly, and was keeping it from everybody. I don't know why that particularly, but that was like a big thing that he pushed all the time. He was also all in on the Y2K thing, and he lost absolutely no credibility when fuck all happened.
Yeah.
He was one of the big, like, kind of dudes, like, pushing all that stuff. Oh my god, all this shit's gonna happen.
I remember
like,
Y2K.
Yeah, I do too. And honestly, even at the time, I'm like, man, nothing's gonna happen. Come on.
I was having fun though. I was like, it may happen. I had a brand new fucking.
I really did not think.
When that shit was going on, I had a brand new Rat Bill Cougar AK-74 and a shit ton of 5.45 ammo and shit. And I was like, I'm ready. And I was with my first wife at that time. We're down in Biloxi, and I was like, if that shit happens, I'm fucking ready. Katrina happened, which was like much worse.
A much more localized,
much
apocalypse.
Worse. Yeah.
But still probably worse than what you were imagining.
Yeah.
But like I said, kind of.
But that was during the time I was listening.
And that nobody caused that. That was a natural disaster.
Yeah, a natural disaster, and then the populace just cannibalized itself. Which I lost my faith in fucking cops because all the cops ran. They even left all the people in the convalescent homes to drown.
Yeah. Because
where are you going to take them?
Not great.
They were all in wheelchairs.
They were like, fuck it.
Fuck them. They're going to die. Yeah. So, no, I'm fucking... bad shit happens. You better be fucking ready. Yeah. It does happen. And then some of the cops went rogue. Run around stealing shit and raping women.
Yep, that too.
And then a lot of people don't know this, then the National Guard was called out to kill those rogue cops.
Mm.
Yeah. And they were...
Yeah, I heard about
NOPD.
That.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you're doing that shit.
Yeah.
Somebody got to fucking stop your ass.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
They kept that shit hushed up. So.
SideQuest here said, I hate when people start talking about that hurricane because I hear my name and I'm like, what? Oh, never mind. It's not me.
Hurricane Katrina.
My stepmom's name is
There are still fucking tens of thousands of people missing.
Yeah, they never found all
Gone forever.
People. Yeah. I mean, some of them probably just got swept out in the ocean, sadly, but...
Yeah.
That was bad.
They were finding people still dead in houses a year later.
Yeah. That was bad. Yeah. Like I said, we've had some bad hurricanes here, but nothing like that. Nothing like that.
It was straight out of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Gunderson passed away in 2011. Now, as much as he liked to say how everyone was going to kill him, like everyone was after him, like for what he knew, and he was going to get murdered and all this other stuff, this bitch lived until he was 82 years old. Yeah. So obviously they didn't want him dead that bad.
No.
So when he did die, predictably, all his little fanboys, and fangirls, I'm presuming, but I imagine it's probably boys, said, well, they finally got him. They finally got him killed. And his family were like, yo, chill out. He died of, like, bladder cancer. Like, he had cancer, like, for a long time. He was 82. Come on now. If they wanted him dead, they would have done it a long time ago. But, yeah. Now, as I said, I kind of feel like he's less known nowadays. But his videos still get passed around kind of in conspiracy circles. Most recently, at least the most recent thing that I could find where he was mentioned... was that people started passing his black cult videos around, like, with that whole Pizzagate nonsense, that they were passing, look, the black cult, it's real, you know what I mean? So they were passing that around as proof that Pizzagate was real. So that was kind of the last verse. It might have been more recent than that, but that was the last thing that I heard that kind of a lot of people were passing his shit around. But, so he's still kind of known in conspiracy circles, even though he's been dead a while. But I kind of feel like I said, even though a lot of these conspiracies didn't necessarily originate with him, some of them probably did, but I kind of feel like a lot of them kind of carried on, because you still hear a lot of this shit still, like, nowadays, because I feel like people picked this up and ran with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't have this, I don't have that mindset, so it's kind of hard for me to... I understand it. I understand where it comes from. But it's like I can't really relate to it. You know what I mean?
SideQuest says, don't you know that the fucking government has made... what is he called?
Magic cancer laser guns.
Magic cancer
Oh, well,
laser
Ted
guns.
Gunderson did say he'd been shot by lasers 2 times.
Yeah.
I saw a video clip of him talking about that, and I was just like, wow, really?
We got this friend from the goth club. She's fucking cool as shit. She's my age. Her name is Angel. Angel was a fucking... She's done a lot of shit in her lifetime. She was a limo driver.
She drives a limo.
She
yeah.
has her own limousine. She closed that company down, though, but it's a Lincoln Town car. Beautiful Lincoln Town car. We saw it last time we were at the club. She had a fucking crash bar on the front of it. A fucking wraparound police standard crash bar. It says, man, you could escape from New York in this bitch. He's like, yeah, that's the idea. So she fucking is a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, she's all into that
fucking
stuff.
believes in the... And this is a fucking goth chick in her 50s.
Yeah,
you know?
she's like our age.
She's cool and everything. She actually has her own fucking little YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I forgot what it is right now. We were going to have her on as a guest.
Yeah.
She knows the theories inside and out. Just by
so like I said, she's super into all this
she'd
stuff.
be a real good guest.
She's super into all this stuff. Although I don't have a lot of patience for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is that shit gets ridiculous.
That's what I mean.
She was showing me photographs from Hawaii during that big fire, and she was like, look at these people, and they're burned up, and look at this cat. This cat is burned alive while it was walking, and it's like a satellite photo of a cat. You can see the shadow when it's walking, and you look at it, and it does look a little bit singed. But I'm like, Angel, that is not a dead cat. That's a living cat. And then you can look at these people. It had looked like a black person just fucking burnt to a crisp with cornrows and shit in the hair. It says, yeah, but look at this. They were burnt to a crisp with cornrows in it. What could do that? And I was like, that is not a fucking dead body. That is a sandcastle somebody built in the sand. You know what I mean? And they put what looked like cornrows in the hair. That is not a human body. She thought that lasers, some kind of high-tech laser, was used to start that fire out in Hawaii. You know, when that burned down that big...
Yeah.
This is like months back.
Yeah, I remember.
The only thing I could tell her is that, yeah, there's some evidence that the BlackRock Corporation wanted that land so they could redevelop it, because that land was worth a lot, and there was a ghetto on it. And they wanted that shit to burn down so they could put high-rises on it. I'm going to give them that. But they didn't use any high-tech fucking lasers to start that fucking fire.
I mean, why would they bother?
Yeah, that would be a...
If they really wanted to do that, like, you could do it, like, so it would look like an accident.
Yeah. How they did it is they wouldn't really let them upgrade the electrical systems, and when a storm came, the fucking power lines fell and started to fucking
It's like,
fire.
well, we're just going to let the chips fall where they may.
And I said the only thing that maybe they did if they helped that fire, there's a chance that maybe they had some employees, this is outside chance, in that area, and maybe they threw some road flares out to help the fire burn. But even that would be kind
I wouldn't risk it, honestly.
That would be difficult that would be difficult to actually coordinate and get away with it. It's more likely that they wanted it to burn down, so they stopped the state of Hawaii from upgrading the power grid.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a lot easier.
So they said it's only a matter of time. Eventually, that shit will burn down.
We'll just wait it out.
We'll just wait it out. Because fucking BlackRock is one of the richest corporations in the world. They got fucking time. And that money to getting their hands on that fucking property would have been chump change compared to what that company is already. So I don't think they'd want to speed that process up and fucking compromise themselves like that. Corporations that are powerful like that are crafty and patient. You know, they don't want to be blamed for anything. She want to hear that though. Well, she wants to hear that satellites with fucking Jewish space lasers. I don't know if that was the Jewish space laser theory.
The famous Jewish space laser.
The famous Jewish space laser.
That's what I mean. It's most of the time, if you have a lot of money, like you said, if you're a company like BlackRock and you have like a ton of money and stuff like that, you don't need to fucking rush.
No.
You don't need your rent money right now or anything like that. It's like, well, we kind of want that piece of land. You know what? We're just gonna we're just gonna see what happens. Like it's deteriorating.
It'll fucking eventually.
We can wait for that. It's fine, and then our fingerprints won't be on it because it's like, why would you want?
Why would you want to compromise your company?
That's the thing. Like, that's the thing that I don't buy about a lot of these conspiracy theories is that a lot of them kind of involve people doing very obviously shady shit with, like, super high-tech equipment. And so it's like, why would you do that? There's, like, if you really wanted to do that, there's, like way easier ways to do that makes it look even more like an accident. Like, why would you use this really expensive piece of crazy equipment like to do that, so like the fingerprints of it are like all over it, so obviously everyone's gonna be like, what the fuck was that about?
It's true that Larry Fink, CEO of Blackwater, is Jewish, but that doesn't mean he has space lasers. Okay, he's a fucking...
I have a space laser.
Yeah, he's a successful businessman, and really the best strategy for BlackRock would be just to wait, and they'll eventually get that. Yeah.
And like I said, then no one could like pin anything. They're like, what? We didn't do anything.
It's just clean as fuck. Yeah.
We didn't do anything.
Having that property is not a make or break for that company. They got so much fucking money.
See, that's what, like I said, that's why a lot of these, like, oh, this person turned up dead and there's all this weird shit about it. I was like, look, if somebody really wanted them dead, there wouldn't be all that weird shit. I mean, if they really were this powerful cabal of people that were, like, killing somebody, for example, like, they would know better than to leave all of this weird-ass information that would make everybody look at it even harder because it was weird and mysterious. Like, it would just be fucking random. You know what I mean? There wouldn't be anything unusual about it. So, I don't get this whole, oh, well, this was left there, and this was, like, really weird and stuff like that. It wouldn't leave anything like that. If there was some big, powerful cabal like you're talking about, they would know better. Like, they're not that stupid. You know? They wouldn't make these stupid mistakes like that. If what you're positing is true. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like, why would they do that? Because there's, like, way easier ways to kill people where it looks like a lot more like an accident. Like I said, than using fucking Jewish space lasers, you know? Xanada said, my coworker tried to convince me that the government killed Paul Walker, the Fast and Furious guy who crashed his Porsche. No, he was just a bad driver. Yeah, see, and this is, like, indicative of what I'm talking about. Some people feel, especially if it's like a celebrity, and especially if it's a celebrity that died in like just a random ass kind of mundane way, like a car crash or something, because you saw it happen with like Princess Diana and everything like that, because I think we did a show about that. But I think that people have a hard time, particularly when someone famous dies, especially if they die in a really random ass way. If they just die of like a regular ass disease, or if they die in like a mundane way, like a car crash or a stupid accident or something like that. So it's like that fucks people up somehow because those people, I guess, were like larger than life. Well, how could they have just been taken out by this mundane thing that would kill just a normal ass person? So there must have been something else behind it. Everybody's always looking for like more meaning. There has to be more meaning to it, you know? And there's not always. I mean, sometimes like Paul Walker, he just fucking hit a fucking tree. Like it happens all, or whatever he hit. I don't remember if he hit a tree or ran off the road. I don't remember how he died exactly. I know it was a car crash, but I don't remember exactly all the details. But it's just like sometimes, and like Sonny Bono, he was just skiing and he hit a tree. It happens all the time. It happens to regular ass people all the time.
Yeah.
Sonny Bono was famous, but he was also just a regular guy. He's just a person like everybody else. Accidents happen to everybody. It doesn't have to be like some big conspiracy or nothing like that. So I kind of feel like Gunderson kind of fell into that trap too, where just because someone's famous, it's almost like they're different than us. So when they die in some dumb accidental way, that must mean that there is some greater meaning to it. No, that doesn't mean that. They can die just like a regular ass person can. You know what I mean? There's nothing weird about it. Nothing weird about it. Let me see. Gilded Age Phoenix. Well, they did Deep Six James Dean because he was doing Marilyn Monroe and she told him all of the nuclear codes.
No. James Dean wrecked his fucking Porsche Spider on accident because a truck pulled out in front of him.
Like I said, shit like that happens every day to regular people.
Yeah.
So obviously, some percentage of the time, it's going to happen to famous people because they are also just regular ass people.
Dean could race a bit. He wasn't a fantastic racer, but he could race. And he had a cool car. And took it out in California desert and fucking wrecked it. It became one with the side of a truck. He T-boned a truck. There wasn't much left of him or that fucking Spider.
Yeah, that was a little bitty car.
Yeah, it's a little bitty, basically a glorified VW Bug, basically. Engine in the front, though, if I remember correctly. Yeah, engine in the front.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure.
They were pretty fast for the time. I think they could go like 130. But they didn't weigh much for the time. Good handling for the time. But they had shitty brakes. It was drum brakes. You know, a long time ago.
Yeah.
You couldn't stop that car on sand. He was on a dirt road. So he tried to dodge the truck, which is what you should do. He tried to outmaneuver it, but he just T-boned it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, shit happens.
Yeah.
And I get that people don't like that. People are uncomfortable with randomness. I get that. But, like I said, shit happens.
And I think that happened at night. And if it was at night, that was
all the details, actually.
And I think that was even worse because the headlights weren't bright. You couldn't see very far in front of you back in the 60s. Real dim headlights.
And the thing about it is that car accidents, I mean, particularly in the United States, I mean, that's a very, very common way to get killed.
Yeah.
Very common. Not as common as heart disease. But it's up there. So, all right. So we finished talking about Ted Gunderson. Do you want to do like a little bit of an after party? So we can talk about some other shit kind of shit. So, all right. So we covered Ted Gunderson. Like I said, he died in 2011. He wasn't murdered or anything like that. If anybody wanted him dead, they would have got him a long time before he was fucking 82 years old. Especially like considering like all of the people that he said were after him and were following him and trying to poison him through his air ducts or whatever. But yeah, he lived to the ripe old age of 82, which a lot of dudes don't. And he just died of cancer. It's nothing mysterious about that. So yeah, they never did get him. I don't think they killed him because he knew too much. I don't think really anybody in the FBI was paying any attention to him at all because they just thought he was like saying crazy shit, and they're just like, okay, well, there he goes. So it was just that.
It's funny how James Dean was remembered, you know, and that he died fucking wrecking a race car. But really, if you're talking about fucking cool actors that raced, you want to look at Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen was the fucking... That was back when fucking Hollywood had a lot of real men in it. Fucking McQueen was the shit. He could ride motorcycles. He could race motorcycles. He could race cars. He could do motorcycle stunts. And in a lot of the movies that he was in, he was actually doing most of the driving.
He did do a lot of his own
and
stunts.
He did most of the riding. Like especially like in The Great Escape, I think it was called. It was where he didn't. They made him use the stand-in to ramp that motorcycle over some fucking.
Well, he wanted to do it.
He wanted to do it, but they wouldn't let him.
The insurance company says no.
Right. But McQueen was the shit. Now, if you want to see like one of the original police action movies that was fucking great, you want to see Bullet.
Yeah, we reviewed that a while back.
Bullet was fucking fantastic. That was the blueprint.
Yeah, Gilded Age Phoenix just brought
Who's
up,
that?
Just brought up Bullet.
Yeah. That was the movie.
That's a great fucking movie.
That was the movie that was the blueprint for fucking big action movies. It had a great fucking fucking opening fucking, what do you call it? The opening scenes with the fucking credits and shit going. What do they call that? I forgot what they call it. It was like a modern fucking movie. And it's going through a cocktail. It's very gritty, very, very realistic, with a fucking great ending that is ambiguous. You're not quite sure if fucking it was good or not, McQueen's mission. He succeeded, but it was not a fucking resounding fucking
like
success.
yeah.
It was just like, okay.
So more like reality.
More like reality, yeah. It was a great
Which,
movie.
like I said, you got that a lot in like the late 60s and early 70s. You started to get this like more cinema verite kind of thing where people were making things grittier and like more ambiguous, like it would be in real life, rather than these kind of pat, good evil narratives like had been kind of in movies up to that point.
Yeah, and they show the fucking like some of the good people were getting shit on by the fucking department. One dude because he was the wrong color.
Yeah.
Fucking his boss didn't want him to be the fucking doctor. It was just weird shit. And fucking McQueen is like, damn, they fucked you over. This place is fucked up.
He's like, yeah, well.
It was just there was a lot of fucking like there was a lot of like epic fucking cognition happening in the movie. Fucking when they show McQueen and McQueen would be like, he wouldn't say anything. He would just go, yeah, this shit's fucked. You know what I mean? Okay, I see how this is going. Oh yeah, okay, the department's corrupt. Yeah. People are assholes. You know, it's just good flick. Good flick. And a lot of shit went unspoken. It was a very modern movie. Bullet. You got to see that one. I think McQueen beat James Dean in every way. In terms of fucking
Well,
actor
I mean, to be fair,
fucking,
like James Dean didn't really get a chance to be
died,
in that many
yeah,
movies because he died pretty young. So there was
Yeah.
that. I mean, Steve McQueen was in a lot of movies. Like,
Yeah.
over
Went to a lot of Hollywood parties. Always had at least one fucking really beautiful woman with him. Evidently, sometimes two. He evidently was at the Tate's party before that fucking massacre happened.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've done a show about Manson family, right? I'm pretty sure.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, we must have.
McQueen, I think even knew Bruce Lee. I think he knew Bruce Lee.
I think they knew each other.
Yeah.
Well, I think maybe he might have trained him, Bruce Lee, because he trained like a lot of actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was talking about the poison and the air ducts and stuff, Tammy said it's just a really slow acting poison. Yeah. It's kind of like the dim mak, you know, like the death touch. Like you could touch somebody when they're 23, and then when they die many years later, when they're 95, you could be like, "See, I got him."
Yeah.
That was my death touch that did that. But yeah.
Yeah, Phantom says fucking Steve McQueen and Bruce Lee are Eskimo brothers. I didn't know that they were Eskimo brothers, but yeah, he knows.
All right. So let's do like a little bit of a sidetrack show. Because this weekend was our anniversary, which was nice, which we talked about on Friday night.
Yeah.
But we also went to the new iteration of Barbarella, the club that we go to all the time. They've moved to a new location, and Saturday night was the first night that we checked it out. So at first,
I thought it was going to be fucking
I was a little dubious at first. Like, the building is really nice, and it's nice inside, but I was just kind of like, okay, it's a bar, and they serve food, kind of, but I don't think it's like a restaurant, but they serve like bar food type of thing. And they have, like, on the left side is all these cages, like you can do axe throwing, right? It's called the Axe Trap, is what the place is called.
Yeah.
They call it that because prior to that building being built there, the iconic Orlando landmark known as the Booby Trap was on this very piece of property, which was a very famous strip club back in the old days that had two big concrete, were they concrete? Whatever they were, tits on top. Story was, I don't know if this is true or not, but it started out as an ice cream place I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if this is true. This is local lore. But it started as an ice cream place, and those were supposed to be ice cream cones. But then later on, it became a strip club, and so they painted them to look like tits. I don't know if that's true. But so the Booby Trap was there for a long time. It was an icon. You could see it from the highway. I used to see it growing up. Like, we would drive to Disney World or whatever, and you'd always see the Booby Trap, like, down on the side of the highway. And so, I guess at some point, this other business took it over. I think they tore that building down and then, like, built another one there, because obviously this one doesn't have tits on top. It just looks like a regular-ass building. And so this place, it's kind of like I said, it's kind of like a bar and grill-ish kind of place, but it has, like, this big area, which... you know, we're kind of using as a dance floor, but then it has, like, this place over here where it's, like, all this axe throwing. So we came in, and the place is open all day, because it's a bar and they serve food and everything, and you can come in and watch TV or whatever. And so, but our thing started at 9:30, and they're charging a cover, so, you know, our buddy JR, who's the door guy, he sits outside and takes everybody's money and gives them wristbands or whatever. And so when we first go in, there's people that have been in there before. And so we walk in. I mean, it wasn't just us. There was, like, a couple of other regulars there. And we're just kind of like, oh, man, this is, like, normie as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? At least at first, because it was, like, 9:30.
We drove them out of there. There were so many of them.
But, yeah, eventually, as the night went on, they started trickling away, I guess. Yeah. Because, like, as more and more people started showing. Because it was the first night in a new place. So, like, we saw... all of the regular people that would normally come to Barbara and, like, a bunch more that we hadn't seen in, like, years and years that hadn't come out. And they were like, well, we wanted to see what this new place is like, because they hadn't been since it was downtown. So it's like, so everybody showed up and it was fucking packed. There was you couldn't even dance. There was just, like, I mean, which was
dance floor.
Which was good. I mean, because it's like, it was good for them. I mean, John was, like, super happy. He's like, holy shit, like, everybody's here. And the bartenders were super happy.
Over the moon, yeah.
They were just like, holy crap, we've never seen anything like
this.
this.
Telling him, I was talking to that bartender, he says, this is the best night we've ever had. And I says, okay, I'm going to break you off tonight. I fucking tipped him 30, which was fucking...
yeah, we gave him a lot of money.
That was more than what the fucking 20% was.
He bought us some drinks.
He bought us some
drinks, and our friend Sonia, who we've mentioned on the show before, she has not been out for... 9 years. She came out.
Sonia came back to us.
She came out.
Sonia came back.
She looks exactly the same.
Exactly the same. She was still happy that we fucking.
And she said to me, she's like, "You look exactly the same."
Yeah.
I was like, "So do you." She looked exactly the same.
Tammy said some cool shit about fucking McQueen and Bronson.
Where?
Right there, up there.
Did you know McQueen gave Charles Bronson his last name? I'd heard that. Yeah. I guess Charles wasn't getting many jobs, and thought it was because of his ethnic name. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So they were driving
Lithuanian
down Bronson. Yeah, because he was Lithuanian.
I think it did a ski. Wasn't he a ski?
Yeah,
like
because he did some early movies. I think we talked about this because we reviewed some Charles Bronson movies, and I think I mentioned what his last name was, and he did some movies under that name.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably like holding him back. Like a lot of the actors that had ethnic quote unquote names, they usually had them change it to something more generic or like American sounding, I guess.
Well, they wanted something real slick sounding.
Yeah.
Real American, real slick.
Yeah.
So they were going down Bronson Ave, and he goes, "Your name should be Bronson, Charles Bronson."
Yeah, he's like, that sounds like a tough guy name.
Yeah.
Which it kind of does. It's also that dude in UK, that crazy prisoner.
Yeah.
They made a movie about.
McLean was cool. Bronson was pretty cool. But over the years, man, I'm telling you, I've kind of grown a fucking appreciation for fucking Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds was the original fucking Southern whitexploitation action star. Burt was a fucking action star for his time. And he was funny. He was funny in his personal life, you know. He was a nice guy. But Gator, or White Lightning and Gator.
Yeah.
And fucking, even the cheesy ass fucking Smokey and the Bandit. It's fun.
Buczynski,
yeah. I thought it was a ski name.
Yeah.
And
thank you, Tammy.
fucking Burt could even handle a musical. Best old whorehouse in Texas and shit with fucking Dolly.
I kind of love that movie.
Yeah.
I saw that on HBO all the time when I was growing up, and I have like a soft spot for it.
Yeah. But I just Burt's kind of grown on me as a Southern
it's
classic.
It's not usually my thing, but
he's a
like
Southern classic, and he fucking played a fucking CIA assassin called Malone in a fucking action flick
where he had a sideways relationship with a teenage girl in it. That was just the fucking way the times were, man. Remember that teenage girl was all in love with him and shit.
Wasn't creepy back then.
Yeah,
I mean it was creepy.
It was kind of creepy. He didn't do anything though.
No, that's true.
She was just in love with him. He didn't do anything. But no, from what I remember, he saves her, I think. Yeah. But he doesn't. I don't think he ever has sex with her or anything. But
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, fucking Burt, and he was fucking great in the fucking Boogie Nights. He had a good range.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I love that they brought him back for that.
Yeah.
Because he was so fucking great. Xander said, I absolutely love Steve McQueen because he was also a legitimate race car driver. A man of many talents.
And he was good on motorcycles.
Yeah, that's always like kind of cool. Like when you get a dude who's like a good actor, but like can also do like a bunch of other stuff.
McQueen fucking was a real motorsports dude. He spent a lot of his money on fucking motorized vehicles, motorcycles and fucking sports cars. And none of his shit was stock. He'd take them to the best California fucking performance fucking shops and have the best modifications done to them no matter what they were. And he was doing that for a long time. I saw some interviews with guys that owned those shops that he was going to or worked in them. I don't remember what it was. I think they just worked in them. And they said that those shops were like sometimes being supported basically by fucking taking care of Steve McQueen's cars and building Steve McQueen's. If Steve McQueen bought a fucking Mustang, he'd fucking take it down to the fucking shop and have that shit maxed out. He'd do it with Porsches. He bought American and European cars. It just had to be a fast fucking sexy car. And he evidently did that his whole life. Same with motorcycles. He was just big into that shit. Now, I don't know if it's true. Fucking, he's pictured in fucking Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by, what's the director's name? Quentin Tarantino. It's him showing up in his fucking slick-ass suit with his driving gloves on and shit and glasses. He probably was the kind of dude to fucking wear driving gloves. He probably was. Yeah. What would you think?
I mean, probably.
He probably did, right? I would like to know. Did he wear driving gloves when he showed up places? He had cars to justify it, though. He had badass rides for the time.
Phantom says, Ted Gunderson thought the Silver Shamrock mask conspiracy was real. Honestly, that wouldn't shock me. If he'd seen that movie, he's just like, oh my god, that's another... more evidence for my theory. They're taking pieces of Stonehenge and putting it in Halloween masks and making kids' heads turn into worms and bugs. Because of course they are. Why not? What a weird fucking movie that was. I love that movie.
Yeah, Xander's talking about Paul Newman's race team. I forgot all about that. Paul Newman also raced. He was supposed to be pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, he
in
was
the divisions he was racing in.
That was really into that.
Right. Those are rich man sports.
Yeah.
Got to have a lot of money to race a car.
Well,
even back in those days.
Yeah.
And they were racing pretty good cars. Probably cost them fucking $500,000 a year to race those cars back in those days. Yeah. Well, what do you say, Jen? You want to shut it down?
Yeah. Well, Zach was saying, legit, the Wire Bar Burger is the best. I mean, I've heard that, but I wouldn't know. We didn't get a burger. We didn't get any food there. It did smell good. But we were asking them, it's like, well, how long do you guys do food? And he's like, well, we stopped doing food at 11. So most of the people had, like, wandered off, like, by 11 o'clock. I don't know if it was because they stopped serving food or because they were, like, intimidated by all the weirdos that came there. But it ended up being a good night. Like I said, super, super packed. We'll see if it... this was the first night. They had, like, some hiccups. But honestly, it was super fun. And I was dubious at the beginning, but I was all like, nah, you know what? This place could work. You know, there's a couple things about it I don't really like. But honestly... You know, we went for 2 years. We went to like half of a pickleball warehouse.
They got to work on it. They'll work on it though.
Yeah, I mean, it'll work itself out. Honestly, I think it's a nice space. It's a nice building.
Yeah.
They don't have as much parking. Like you can park by the building, and then there's like a closed salon next door that has like a bunch of parking where you can park, like that's allowed. But other than that, like, I don't know. We're going to go again this Saturday and see.
Yeah.
how it goes. We'll see if we get... I think it was just like super, super crowded like that because it was like the first night and everyone wanted to check it out. But we'll see how...
Most of them will be back.
If everybody will come back. I kind of hope they do. Yeah. But, you know, like I said, it was nice to see like people that we hadn't seen in years and years. Like everybody came. But yeah. So, all right. It's almost 11 o'clock. So we are going to shut it down this evening.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. We will see you guys again on Friday night for Sidetracks. We always have like a lot of fun on that show, just drinking and talking about bullshit. My favorite show of the week. But you know, this one's fun too. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with us this Wednesday evening. And we will see you guys again on Friday night. Good night.